one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Film Podcast, the film podcast with probably the most integrity of any podcast there's ever been.
Ever.
Wow.
Ever. I've said it straight away. I'm your host, Rob. I'm joined by two lovely men. Joined by Guff.
Thank you.
You're usually upset that I'm not nice enough to you at these intros. And I just did a nice one.
I just ask you, all I ever said was it'd be nice if you asked how we are occasionally at the start of the thing.
Yeah, I don't need compliments.
I didn't want the nicest men I've ever met, known philanthropists.
Known top blokes. It's Guff and Matt, everyone. You know who they are. It's fine.
So username as well. Look at that. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I thought that I was putting the name tags on. I was like, I'll go all out. I'll give you some promo.
www.twitch.tv/Guffball.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the Snyder Cut. I've already done one podcast on this already.
Yeah.
But what I would like you guys to do, and we'll start with Guff, is just very quickly, in like a minute, just say overall thoughts on what this film was. Go.
Who?
You.
Me. I enjoyed it. I'm very briefly. First half of the film, I was like, it's already an improvement, and I think it is okay. I think it's fine. Last half of the film, genuinely thought it was very, very good, and I was like, as long as the film is, I was overall really quite happy with it, and I got a lot more enjoyment out of it than I thought I would. Had real low expectations. It did blow them out the water. It's not a perfect film by no means, but I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and enjoying it at all is a damn sight more than what happened when the theatrical cut was watched. So for me, it was a win.
And Matt?
I think it was better than the theatrical cut. And I enjoyed watching it, but I think I enjoyed watching it because I was curious to see what was different and where it was going in comparison to the theatrical cut. I don't think it's good. I think we'll get into why I don't think it's good. I think the timescale is just one of the issues about why this isn't a good film. But I think it could be. I think there's a good film in. I say good. I think there's an alright film in there. I think if you edited this right, because this film is not edited right. This is a shocking piece of editing.
I don't think it's edited.
It's not edited. No, it isn't. It is
70 million. They couldn't hire an editor.
It's a random sequence of scenes thrown together, and it kind of works because they've kind of gone, oh yeah, well yeah, because that bit is linear in that bit, so it's fine. It'll be okay. But I think you could, if you got an actual editor to sit down and edit this film. DC, I'm an editor. You know, you might need to give me some.
Wow!
You might need to get me a bit of gear.
He actually really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but he's being super neggy and gaslighting DC.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they'll hire him as an editor. I see what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I think generally there could be an alright film, like a decent film in there if it was edited a hell of a lot better, and cut loads of the crap out. But yeah, that's.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it but not. I think if I watched it not having seen the theatrical, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. But I think I enjoyed it because I was like, oh, this is different. Oh, that's new, sort of thing. Oh, they're going a little bit different with that one, sort of thing, rather than actually being like, oh, that's actual good character progression, or that's actually a good sequence, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely nearer your view on this, Matt. I did a podcast with Hat, our weekly podcast, over the weekend, and was like, I didn't really mind it when we were watching it. It felt like 4 hours because it's a 4-hour film. But I didn't necessarily hate it. And then the more I started talking about it and the more I started uncovering the layers of the onion, I was like, that. And another thing that annoyed me, and I just kind of listed off all these things that I didn't like. But I think having thought about it, and I actually watched them. I don't know if you guys have heard of Half in the Back. They do YouTube
I've
reviews.
Heard of them, but
they're quite good. So they do well, Matt does whatever he's doing with that.
He's a stop sign, but because everything's in black and white, you can't tell.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
It keeps falling off, so I'm just trying to put it somewhere where it's not going to keep falling.
So I watched this review earlier on my lunch and was like, they did quite a nice comparison between the theatrical cut and this cut, and I actually think that having watched that review, I actually think it's probably. I think it's definitely an improvement on Joss Whedon's cut, and I forgot how bad Joss Whedon's cut actually was because they brought up a lot of stuff when I was like, I kind of wish I'd watched it before actually, and I was going to, I just didn't really get around to it. I think it is more coherent and a better film, and the characters get a lot more to actually doing it. And I think as well, thinking about it a few days afterwards, that my problem with this film is kind of my problem with the whole DCEU as a whole. Like, it's not necessarily this film on its own; it's the way they've set it up. And I find it very hard not to compare this to Infinity War and Endgame, and I'm going to do that a lot because essentially it's kind of the same film. It's an alien invader coming to the planet to get some MacGuffins to destroy the world, and I think Infinity War and Endgame do it perfectly, and this does it imperfectly. And I don't necessarily think that's a problem with this film as a whole. I think it's a problem with the world building that leads up to this film. I also think there's a lot of dumb dialogue in this film for a film that's supposed to be for grown-ups, but. Yeah, that's kind of where I am with it. I don't know what Matt's still whatever he's doing.
I'm adding a bit of slapstick comedy to this stream, so
you're like the Ezra Miller from the Whedon.
Yeah, he's our Ezra Miller.
Please don't say that. Ezra Miller punched a woman in the face. Didn't he?
I was going to say, but instead he's choking out a pop filter now instead.
Wow. Allegedly.
Well, there's footage.
There's video. There's a video of it.
There's literally a video of him choking someone else.
Allegedly. Before we move on to sort of the main structure of it, let's just say hello to chat, I suppose. We've got Bug in the chat.
Hello.
We've got Harriet's. We've got, that's you, Real Film. HMNIW? I don't know who that is.
That is my friend Will. I hope you don't mind me saying your name, but hello, Will.
Hello, Will.
Getting him out there on the internet.
Hello, internet. If people have like comments on the film, if you have an overall comment, put it in now. We'll read it out. If we've kind of got like a structure we're going to go through, and then if you've got anything on that specific topic, we'll talk about it at the end of the section. I guess is the easiest way to do it rather than starting with chat. But yeah, if you have anything you want to say along the way, just say it, and we'll have a look back over the chat as we're going through. So the thing I kind of wanted to start on, just to get out of the way, because we took the piss out of this a lot in the lead up to this film, was the way that Zack Snyder wanted to show this in 4:3.
Just like
which.
Can I say my opinion on it first? Because I feel like you probably have more to say on it than I do.
I was just going to explain.
Okay. Yeah.
So 4:3 is obviously this kind of squarish shape. So the reason he's done it in that is because it's originally shot in IMAX, right? So IMAX ratio is quite close to 4:3. And that's the reason. So if you look at, and Half in the Bag did a thing on this actually, is like, so if you look at the actual footage from the theatrical Justice League, all they've done is kind of crop the top and bottom, and like, so you're not actually it's not as if they've cropped off the sides of the original thing that they've shot to make it a square. Like, it's literally, for the theatrical cut, they changed the aspect ratio. So you're not kind of missing anything. And to be honest, I took the piss out of it a lot. I couldn't give a shit when it started. I didn't notice it at all. So I don't have anything to say on that.
Yeah, that's well. I know where this is going, so I'm gonna jump in now. But yeah, I was very passionate about how much I disliked this when he announced it, because I think I was a massive like advocate. I think out of the three of us, especially, I was the most that was like, one, because Rob didn't even think the Snyder Cut existed. I was like, it definitely exists. It absolutely exists.
Well, it didn't, did it? Because it's 70 million extras in. It was never going to be this version of the film, was it? Is what I mean. Like, it wasn't like a completed film. It wouldn't have been 4 hours.
I think most of this film was still finished. I think there was just I think you can tell the bits that were redone or
at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think yeah, mostly, and the odd sequence that was clearly done digitally that might not have been as polished by the time they sacked him off, but he left. But either way, like, I think obviously I was a massive advocate for this. I was like, I hated the Justice League. I love the Justice League as characters, but I hated this version. Really want to see what Zack Snyder did, because thought BVS was flawed, but mostly okay, and I liked what it set up, and I really liked Man of Steel, so I really wanted to see that. But I've kind of found that as this journey since he's been given the Snyder Cut to actually do, and people have been like, yay, he's got it, wait. And people have just been absolutely sucking his balls, man. His ego is through the roof. He's gone fucking power mad as Zack Snyder now. He's really, really gone for it. So the whole 4x3 thing, I was like, you've lost me now. Now you're doing it for the fucking sake of doing it now. And I did think it would really annoy me when watching it, but I must admit, when I started watching it, I very quickly forgot, and I just got used to it. And I think from a technical perspective, when you go, well, actually, you do technically get more footage based on the footage shot. Because like you say, like it was just cropped into an aspect ratio that fit widescreen normally. So in that respect, I appreciate it. But when it was first announced, I was like, it's like the whole black and white version as well. I was like, oh, you fucking, of course.
The black and white one it's basically black and white anyway. So what's the point?
yeah.
Especially now,
like navy and gold. That's all it is. It's just navy and gold. It's like the fucking dress. Is it black and white or is it navy and gold? But yeah, I'm sure Matt has something to say.
Yeah, no, I have to say I found it really distracting for like most of the film. I think because I watched this in 2 parts because no film's supposed to be 4 hours long.
Unless it's Peter Jackson's.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah,
it's a massive.
None of them are 4 hours
absolutely long. Massive Lord of the Rings fan.
Extended cut Return of the King's 4 hours 12 minutes.
Is it? That's a masterpiece, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's
a masterpiece.
not a masterpiece.
And it is on 2 DVDs, so you've kind of got to stop anyway. So.
Yeah, you have to stop anyway. It's fine. Yeah, I still don't think. Yeah, I love those films. It probably shouldn't be that long as a film, as a piece of media. The amount of people that don't watch those films because of yeah, I find it quite distracting, the 4x3 thing. I kind of understand the reasons behind why it is a thing, but no other IMAX film, when it isn't shot, when it isn't screened in IMAX, is presented like this. Even Christopher Nolan, who's the biggest advocate of IMAX there's ever been, because IMAX is very expensive and the cameras.
He has a tattoo on his ass.
He probably does. I won't be surprised, mate. It's like it's so expensive. And like is that shot an actual film as well, so it's even more expensive, not just like the cameras and all that sort of stuff. Christopher Nolan actually broke one, and at the time there weren't that many in the world, which was
what
quite
film
fun.
was it? Was it
Batman.
Dark Knight?
Yeah, it's one of the Batmans. Like they crashed a car into one of the IMAX cameras.
It was Tumblr, I think, wasn't it? I think it was the Batmobile.
Yeah.
We're going to take one out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, even he, when it's not shot not projected in an IMAX screen, crops it to a normal film widescreen aspect ratio. And like I understand the principle of you will actually get more image if it's done in 4x3, but it just looks weird. Like it just, for me anyway, I just think it, it's about how your brain perceives it and stuff like that. I'd much rather it just be put in widescreen. And say no one else has ever done this in IMAX, especially when it's on your own TV as well, because it's going to seem even, maybe on a huge screen in a cinema, you would kind of still get the impact of it.
I just sat really close.
On your own TV screen, it kind of feels a lot more kind of, the blackness on either side I found a lot more intrusive, because it's not been done for like an artistic reason in terms of like, how Wes Anderson uses it and stuff like that. It's just been done because, and it's kind of the justification of it as well just sounds dead wanky, doesn't it? Like,
I think that's my issue.
You said
the justification you gave it was sounding really wanky, and that's why I was like, fuck off. I can't be asked.
Yeah.
But in fairness, I think for me, like, I kind of compared it to, obviously it's a bit an unfair comparison, but the way WandaVision's first few episodes are shot like that, and
but they're done for a very
lot of them. I know
choice,
they're going for the. I know what it is, but I mean, like, as well in terms of, like, I was watching like old Avatar recently, like the Last Airbender, and that's obviously shot. Well, it's done like that because it's during a different sort of time that it was airing on TV. Like, it's obviously a different aspect ratio for most TVs. So I suppose I kind of saw it like that, where it's like I think my brain is already used to like older things like that. I think Luna fucking really agrees with me about 4x3.
She loves 4x3.
I think she's seen a bird
she loves
outside.
Last Airbender. That's what I said. Last Airbender. She loves it. What are birds if not airbenders?
Exactly.
No, that's it. Like, I think it just felt like an old style crop on the TV, so it didn't really bother me too much. I think that's what my brain sort of did to get used to it a bit quicker, I suppose.
No, I get that.
Yeah, I really didn't find it distracting at all when we got to. I found it very interesting that you were, because you're like the only person I've spoke to about it that
Yeah,
I think a lot of people I've spoke to about it have all agreed it felt like a stupid decision beforehand, and then when watching it, they were like, didn't bother me.
Yeah,
but it's really interesting.
I know I'm probably in the minority of who it actually annoyed and stuff.
I kind of wanted it to annoy me as well, and it didn't, which is in itself quite annoying.
He's done you, Zack Snyder.
He has done me.
You wanted him to piss you off, and he didn't. Last laugh.
Hat has put, would Lord of the Rings be better split into 6 chapters? It wouldn't be better, but
well, we'll find out. There's a series coming out, aren't there? So
there is
we'll
a
find
series
out if it's better episodic. Hello, Hose Girl.
Hello.
Welcome to the chat. So the next topic we have is: does this film justify a 4-hour recut of the Justice League?
The Justice League. Good one.
Is it
calling it that?
Yeah, I think it's a great name.
I'm gonna have to disappoint everyone because I've got a separate screen set up for different stuff in the background. It's not 4:3, everyone. I apologise.
That's fine.
Well, I think that's just a lack of integrity, to be honest, to my vision of the podcast.
I don't care. We've done our
More
job.
like the Mastiff League, am I right? Fucking hell. Get it gone.
And I am going to be black and white for a minute as well because the filter's on all my camera. So I'll stay in black and white.
Black and white. Just make me and Guff look like a bunch of chumps, just not showing respect for the Justice League.
Yep, there we go.
Now we're Darcy and Jimmy Woo. and Matt's Wanda living in a universe.
Yeah, so what Camden wanted to talk about was, like, I know we probably all have issues with this being, or Matt specifically has issues with this being a 4-hour recut. Like, I think watching this film for me definitely justifies the Zack Snyder cut. I think, like Matt said before, I think there is genuinely a far better, superior film in here. But there's so much footage in here that could be lost. So it's like, does it justify a 4-hour recut for you guys? Or does it justify... I mean, yeah, I think we all probably agree. Does justify the re-release of the film as Zack Snyder's vision? I think what kind of happened to him, like, whatever you think of Zack Snyder, he's probably a nice guy. I don't really know. I think he's probably a bit of pretentious. But kind of, obviously the tragedy that happened to his family, and then the rumours that Warner Bros. Kind of wanted to get rid of him anyway, and then brought in Joss Whedon to completely cut up his film and change it to something completely different.
I think that's really really bad taste. I think that's come out about it is really bad taste. Like, when you think of, because I think there was rumors at the time that he'd been sacked before it, and then it was more like it was more of a public get out of jail for Warner Brothers that this tragedy had happened to him, and which seemed really horrible. But I don't think Zack Snyder has ever led anyone to believe that, and he's been quite open and honest about a lot of stuff that Warner Brothers have been like in terms of throughout this whole thing. So I do think he did leave on his own, because it sounds as well since that he butted heads with Warner Brothers a lot about this anyway, about several different things. So I feel like he wouldn't have abandoned it, or they wouldn't have shoved him off. I think he was really fighting for it. But yeah, I feel like the family tragedy is obviously but I do feel Warner Brothers probably did go, as horrible as it sounds, they probably went like, this is good for us, which I think is a horrible way of viewing it. But because, I mean, we can, Joss Whedon, ignoring all the things about him personally that's come out recently, I think at the time, I was quite like, oh, well, if they're getting anyone in, the guy who did Avengers, yeah, why not? Like, but I think it's very clear that Warner Brothers were like, you are allowed to destroy this on every element. Like, you are able to recut this however you want.
But then weirdly, he wasn't really given any time to rewrite anything, or, like, obviously, I mean, the writing and the theatrical edition is awful. It's not Joss Whedon's usual standard of writing. He's usually a pretty good writer, and it's really bad. Like, the dialogue's terrible.
Have been quite notorious at this point, I think, for giving people very small turnarounds. Because, I mean, David A was given 6 weeks for Suicide Squad to write it.
I don't get why. Yeah, why? If you're going to reshoot it, just do it from script. I mean, I know that there's deadlines and money and all this involved, but I mean, you've just spent an extra 70 million getting another cut of the film out when you could have done it properly first time. It just seems very bizarre.
I made a note of this, which is, I think this film, and I'll probably touch upon this throughout different points we make throughout the thing, so I'll keep coming back to it. But I think what this film has highlighted for me quite a lot, if other films haven't in the past, is just how little like most studios actually have a clue when it comes to these properties. Like, I mean,
Kevin Feige's the only one who knows what he's doing in Hollywood. He's the only person in Hollywood who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and it's so weird that
Maybe
like
Scorsese.
yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like, ooh, arch nemesis.
Yeah.
The Goku and Vegeta of Hollywood, I've heard. But no, like that's it. Like it just highlights if like the shit that Fox has put out, the shit that even Lucasfilms put out in the last, like, you know, the way they handled Rise of Skywalker and things like that. I think it just shows just how little studios actually have an awareness of the properties. And like, I mean, I remember even when Jeff Johns was brought on. I mean, I know Ray Fisher sort of talked about how he's being a bit inappropriate and shocking in terms of like, you know, his allegations. But Jeff Johns, for anyone who doesn't know, has written some of the best, I think, like critically, some of the best DC stories in years, especially mainstream ones, because you have people like Grant Morrison that often do like the offshoots and things that end up becoming Elseworlds. But main continuity stories, often Jeff Johns has done these massive storylines that have impacted DC for years. So when he was brought on, I was like, finally, DC's got their own Kevin Feige, someone who understands these characters, someone who knows what they're doing. And I don't know what it is about Warner Brothers. They just seem to not hit the nail on the head still. I think it might have been a snowball, though. I think this snowball started too early and no one could catch it. And I don't know if they will catch it. I think it's kind of...
It's gone, innit?
Flashpoint.
It's at the bottom of the hill. It's crashed into someone's car. There's kids crying. Like,
no one's got insurance.
Yeah, it's bad, innit? It's gone bad.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I kind of went off on that, but I mean, to put it in short, then, because I talked quite a bit there, I don't think it is necessarily to have it 4 hours. We kind of did make a joke just before this that there's a lot of slow mo.
Well, there's something you were saying, Matt.
Yeah,
like 10% of it.
Yeah, IGN literally just put an article out saying 10% of this film is in slow motion. Are we chatting about slow motion later? Because I have a feeling about the slow motion.
Yeah, if anyone wants to. But I was just going to say, like, I think for me there is definitely bits that could have been taken out. I think my big note about runtime, and the only way I could think of potentially fixing it, because I don't really know, there is a lot of good things that this film does I wouldn't want to take out, because I feel like taking it out would ruin it. And I think it's, again, what happened with the theatrical cut is they obviously took a lot of like character development out, for example, that definitely didn't help that film amongst its other, you know, tragedies. But like, I think really taking a lot of the character development out of this film, there's only one person I feel like it could have done, and that maybe, I think Aquaman should have been given a film before this. I feel like Cyborg works really well in this, and I really like the way they handle Flash's story in this, and I don't think there's enough of him to really need a whole solo film before this film. But Cyborg, and I think Zack Snyder said he's gutted that he was under the impression that this film would bring about a Cyborg film. So he said that he put a lot of the work in the thoughts that it would go towards that, and obviously it doesn't look like it will now, but I think...
Yeah, I can't see Ray Fisher going back to...
it's not
exactly that. Yeah. But I think that's it. I think Aquaman, taking a lot of the Aquaman story stuff out that introduces him and introduces you to that world, probably could have been done in an earlier film, and then we just see him. Like, if they'd done a film where it's like he has the whole adventure, and by the end of that he's like, actually, I don't want to be an Atlantean, and then you have that whole thing where Willem Dafoe's like saying, embrace your destiny, at least for this occasion where the world's being taken over. That would have been enough, and we didn't need all those Aquaman scenes that we had.
We didn't need Amber Heard's accent.
We didn't need that.
Nobody needs that.
But I think that's my big note about runtime, is I don't think it justifies... I think more could have been done to avoid it being 4 hours. I think, considering his Batman vs Superman director's cut is like 3 hours, I think 3 hours for a director's cut is fine. Though for a theatrical cut, I have no idea how they would have put this down. Because I don't think even splitting it into 2 films would have, like, it would have still been a bit of a mess. Because fuck all would have happened in one half, and then everything would have happened in the other.
That's one of my notes. Yeah, it's about, I think I like put some in Discord saying like, I'm 2 hours in and nothing has happened yet.
Yeah.
Like, there's like the Themyscira's bits could have been. I mean, we don't care about the Themyscira characters really. Like, we kind of know 2 or 3 of them. Like, we don't need
Rob.
Yeah, Rob just hates like, women.
I think it's like 15 minutes long, and it was cut down to about 6 in the original theatrical cut. which is probably fine. Like 6 minutes for that sequence is probably fine. There's also a bit where, and this is a bit that really stuck for me. There's a bit where Amy Adams like picks a shirt for Superman. There's like a whole scene where he's like he's got no top on, he's in the field or whatever, and she goes inside. You see her go inside, pick through all the flannel shirts. It's like, just we don't need to see how this happens. We can make the leap from shirtless Superman to Superman with a shirt on quite happily. We don't need to see it.
The fact that he's shirtless anyway is just ridiculous.
Oh, we need to see it.
It's just
I like to see a hairy man.
It's so dumb. I prefer the Aquaman stuff where he just always takes his top off. Because at least he owns it, man. At least he owns it, and he's just like, yeah, man, I'm ripped. I'm not cold. I can take my top off.
I found really stupid.
The Oda toilet advert.
Yeah. At least he's owning that. With Superman, it's like, oh yeah, everything but my pants blew off when I got resurrected. Yeah, and it's just like, oh come on, man.
I have
but also my boxers have gone somewhere because I'm definitely not wearing boxers.
I saw a meme that sums it up perfectly what I thought during the scene where, he's walking across the pier. But, I mean, that is a shot that also isn't needed because we've already met him.
That whole bit's ridiculous.
It's about a minute long as well.
Because we've already met him
with Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So we don't need... Like, if you'd have had that scene first and then Bruce Wayne is maybe up at the pub when he gets and drops the dude off, like Bruce Wayne's anticipated he'd be there, that's a great way of combining both those scenes together and missing out, 10 minutes of your film? Cut it down?
This is one of the things I said about literally it's not edited together. It's like a random thing of scenes and it doesn't make logical sense. Like, there's this whole bit where we get introduced to Wonder Woman where she's, introduced. Like we see Wonder Woman when she's stopping that bank heist or whatever it is, which is well too long, and then she just blows up half the building. It's like this historical building that they're trying to save, and it's obviously
she's trying to stop it being blown up.
And then
that was the whole point of the sequence.
Yeah, instead of just stepping over and punching the dude in the face, she blows up half the building and probably injures a load of cops down there and bystanders and everything. It's so stupid.
But was ridiculous.
We get that scene, which is
Sorry, really? Oh, go on.
No, I was to say it's well too long anyway. But then we go back to Themyscira and see all the bit where they're going to, send that arrow off to warn mankind that there's danger coming. And one of them goes, they won't know, it's been so long, they won't know what it means. And then she goes, she will. That's a perfect time to cut to Diana and introduce her there. Why have we had that other scene earlier on where, it's like I hate doing this, always comparing it to Marvel. But the scene where Black Widow and Iron Man are talking in Civil War about have they got any other guys they can get in to come and help them in this fight? And Iron Man kind of goes, yeah, I know a guy. And he's like, oh, where's yours? And he goes, Queens. And then it cuts to the Spider-Man scene.
The massive, Queens.
It's like putting that scene, the Queen scene earlier, and then have it. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't flow. There's not a natural kind of thing of going, that's a perfect edit point to go into her story and stuff. And you build it up with those bad guys going in, but you're like, yeah, Wonder Woman's coming to save the day here. This is going to be epic because we understand editing. We understand that Wonder Woman's coming in a minute. It's so dumb.
Do you know what it is? I would like to know how many actual writers are on this because, I know that the writers are, what is it? Chris Terrio, Destroyer of Worlds. We have
fraud.
Zack Snyder,
no fraud.
The
Chris Terrio. Zack Snyder.
Jesus
and then
Christ.
was it David S. Goyer was on this as well?
I don't think Goya was on this.
Because he was on Batman vs Superman, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, but I don't think I don't remember seeing it. Let me have a look. Yeah.
Some redeem Google vouchers.
But with the
screenplay is just Chris
just Terrio, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was going to say I thought that from the credits. Yeah,
there's a guy called Will Beale. What's he done? He's done Gangster Squad and Aquaman and this.
Class.
And
I was going to say, Matt's...
and he's done that great TV show Castle, which had the really horrendous Geordie accent that wasn't a Geordie accent.
Well, I was going to say,
high caliber stuff.
With Marvel films, they obviously have a team of writers that are obviously working on this thing together because I imagine they have to with it being such a shared universe and things like that. And obviously there's probably a head writer who's done the screenplay, but then there's feels like a lot of them working together to actually get it polished. I feel like this needs that because you've just nailed it where it's I struggle to just because I suppose that, but taking those scenes, looking at them on paper and going, all right, actually, we could move this here, we could move this there, and it'd make everything a lot more concise. Because the thing is, we've seen Wonder Woman twice. We knew we were getting the Wonder Woman film between this. So it would have made perfect sense to sort of build her up a little bit. Because I actually don't, I really liked the Themyscira scene. I think if maybe there was, and there's quite a lot of like the box rumbling beforehand and then it kicks off. Like, just show it kicking off. Like, that's the first time we see Themyscira is when the box,
the box goes.
summons Steppenwolf. And we do that. You have that whole sequence, and like you say, it ends with her doing that, but it feels like so much dragging it out, and it's like there's just no need for a lot of it. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Zack Snyder is a man with too many toys and doesn't know what to do with them. He's just smacking them together and hoping that it makes action sequence.
Yeah, I think
I was going to say, going back to that Wonder Woman sequence at the start, like, why is that in the film?
Yeah. Because we know she's a hero, right?
The opening action sequence. Okay, so every Marvel film pretty much starts with like an opening action sequence, which sets up the film, and this is kind of their version of that, right? But then later on, they've got the Themyscira battle, which is quite long and big. That could have gone at the start, or there's like a massive prologue that happens halfway through the film.
Yeah,
put it at the start, mate. Look at Lord of the Rings.
No, see,
because then you know, like, if you don't know what mother boxes are, or you don't know,
I still don't really know what mother boxes are,
or you've not seen Joss Whedon's version, you have no idea what is going on.
See, I'm not against that though. I'm not against that, and I don't mean, and I'm not even thinking from like because I don't have an awful lot of like comic knowledge about, apocalypse-esque stories and the New Gods and things like that. So I only really know Darkseid as and his impact with other characters. But I suppose like, for me, I don't feel like that's an issue because I think it's very, very overdone at this point that we get an expositional battle of the ages, thousands of years before at the start of a film. Like, I'm very happy that they left that to halfway through. I think that, not halfway through, but whenever it is in the film. I think you're right though. I think you're right though when it comes to like, I think the choppiness of it. Like, I don't think you need to know what the mother boxes are because in a lot of ways, none of them seem to know what it is, and like it feels like we kind of learn that through Diana going to that tomb and finding the thing, which also is a scene that you probably didn't need too much of.
The bit where she takes the arrow out. She's taking the arrow out for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a bit where she gets the arrow. There's a big box, and they take it off, and it's an arrow, and she holds the arrow up, and then it's like...
Do you know, for like a film that seemed to like show every shot of every decision a character makes?
Surprised me to see anyone in the toilet, to be honest.
Yeah. It didn't show her actually getting into that. I was like, where's the entrance to this thing? Like, she's outside setting fire to a torch, then she just lands in an ancient cave? I'm like, wait, I'm pretty sure that thing in Greece might exist.
Yeah.
You think we don't know there's like an ancient secret entrance? Like, where
they don't want people to know. They can't let people know how to get in.
It's like national treasure.
Yeah. Zack Snyder was cutting it together in his bedroom, and then the FBI turned up and they're like, "You need to take that bit out, pal."
It's like those memes where it's like someone texts your phone and it's the FBI. It's like, stop this right now. Cut this out. No, but that's it. Like, I think you've hit the nail on the head where there's definitely scenes, and I think this like comes back to a point I think I've made a few times in conversation, but these films don't feel confident the way that Marvel films feel. Like, there's something about, and I think one of my notes here is that it doesn't have that. I've called it the sort of Hollywood polish, but I think it is more on blockbuster films. Like, there is something about it, and I think it's the way things are edited and characters are introduced and the way one thing flows from one thing to another that Marvel films have absolutely nailed in the most part, and this and other DC films just haven't quite done. It feels like, I think I've compared it to like, you can have two people with incredible singing voices who are both the front men of a band. One of them is super confident, puts on a great show, and the other one technically is a great singer and sounds absolutely fantastic, but you don't get the same energy from it, and you don't get the same level of performance from it because they're maybe a bit more low energy or not as confident. And that's, for me, the difference between a Marvel film and a DC film, is that technically they give you the same things, but one of them does it a lot more confidently, a lot more polished than the other, and you end up having naturally a better time with one than the other. And I think that's sort of like, and I think you've nailed it with like things like that. Like you said, the Themyscira thing is the perfect Queen's moment to sort of bring a character we already know in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it feels a bit odd.
I was going to move on to the next section. Basically, is it better or worse than the original cut? But like, just going off what you said with Marvel is like something that I kind of thought about was that what Marvel did really well is they introduced the Infinity Stones and put them like in places with characters that we care about. So like, obviously Thor had the Space Stone at the start of Infinity War, and for Thanos to get the Infinity War, he had to kill Thor's brother and his best friend. To get the Time Stone, you have to get Doctor Strange. To get the Soul Stone, he had to kill Gamora. Like, the way Thanos collects the Infinity Stones is the end of the world is at stake or whatever, but the stake of Thanos getting that stone puts one of our characters that we have been with for 20 films at risk. So it means you care if he gets them. Like, for me, the thing on Themyscira was like, I mean, there's hundreds of women who are mostly CGI getting beaten up by another thing that's CGI. I don't really care about any of these characters. It might look good, it might be a good action sequence, it's fine, but like for me, yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't. But seeing Loki get choked to death or Heimdall getting stabbed, I care about that because I like these characters. Like, and that's kind of what Marvel did really well, is that they ground the higher stakes in personal level stakes really well.
I think going back to that, like, I wouldn't mind if this film started in Themyscira, did that whole sequence, it brings in Wonder Woman, and then when we see Steppenwolf go to, I don't know if he's not in Atlantis, but he's somewhere, in the sea, and he's
in a big bubble.
He's in a big bubble. But there's this whole thing where I think you've hit the nail on the head. Say we had an Aquaman film before this, and Vulko, who's Willem Dafoe's character, was introduced as like his mentor and things like that. That would have been a perfect opportunity to do exactly what you said, where maybe he gets killed, and that's the thing that drives Jason Momoa, who at the start of this film seems like a very self-absorbed or very, very much like, I want to help the everyman. I'm not asked about the world. I just want to help the small people. That is his drive to get involved, that something personal's happened to him. Exactly, I think that would have been a better way of doing that. And I agree with you, because every time we see him go for one of the mother boxes, it's people we don't care about. Apart from, in fairness, I think, I forget his name, but Papa Stone, I'm going to call him. Vic Stone's dad. What's it? Eli?
Silas?
Is it Eli?
Silas?
Oh, Silas Stone. Sorry, yeah. He's fantastic. I cared more about him in this one.
Yeah,
he's a great actor anyway. But
I was going to get onto Cyborg and stuff in
I'll wait for that. I'll wait for that. But yeah,
we'll talk about that. But Matt, do you have anything else to say about whether it justifies a 4-hour recut other than no, it doesn't, because it's too long?
It's better. It does not justify. Does not justify 4 hours. No.
I kind of robbed some of your points there, but I think you saying that like there's the flow from one scene to another would have cut out so much unnecessary shit.
Just one kind of quick thing on that. For a film that's 4 hours long, they move character motivations very quickly. And like we were saying about Aquaman then, he goes from, I just want to help the little guys, I don't want to be involved, to, fine, I'm going to go and save the world, in like a scene because Amber Heard kind of goes, you got to do this, bro. Like, and he's like, all right, yeah, cool, I'll go do that.
He gets punched. Like, he gets punched, and he's like, I want to go punch him back then, I know.
But do you know what I mean? It'd be so much better if it was like a kind of thingy motivation. And even like
revenge.
Like Superman coming back. Like, he goes from, I'm so confused, I fight all these people, to, oh, I stand in field naked, I know you, to, I'm back to normal, I'm ready to do all this stuff, man, I'm cool, yeah, let's go. In like three like small scenes. And I'm like, this film is 4 hours long, man. And you've gone, but for some reason, everyone goes from here to here in like no progression at all. It just seems really like bizarre to me, like how quickly.
I don't know why that Superman scene is in the film.
I really am disappointed that that's the way they went with it, because I really was convinced that was a Joss Whedon thing. And I was like, because I don't mind really that the mother box is brought him back, but you know what my gripe is? And like, fair enough, films retcon things like this all the time, I suppose, especially in this genre of films. But like, we see the ground shake on his coffin at the end of BVS. I would have thought that was such a better opportunity. The idea that maybe they go to get him, and he's
he's gone.
already gone.
Yeah.
And like we find out, and then maybe that cuts to a whole section where we see him maybe going back to the ship confused. Maybe he's done it almost as like an autopilot and he's been revived, and we see that confusion. But we know why we have that is so that he can have a scene fight in the Justice League. That's the only reason that
we
exists.
can really
feels like motivation.
It's because Zack Snyder thinks it'd be cool if that happened, basically. Not because it makes any sense.
Like we can see how powerful
absolutely,
he is.
yeah.
Kind of says,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's a cool sequence, but I think
it's cool.
I think there's a better way to tell Superman's story in this,
100%,
and especially like because I actually really like the scene, like in its sort of substance of what it is. I really like the scene where he's back on the farm and he's talking to Lois and he's like, and all that. I think that'd be a really great section for a film had it not been so late on in the film.
I agree. And again, it goes back to the weird pacing. Like Superman needs, like Zack Snyder's always said that these are like Superman films as well. It's like he's in this for about 10 minutes.
In this, man,
and then like as well, like I mean, again, we'll compare it to Marvel, but the Superman appearing at the end to save the day, and then compare that to Portal scene in Endgame. It's like it's not even like it should have the same as three who are all DC and Marvel fans. That should have the same impact. It just really doesn't at all.
I mean, I'll come back to this because I disagree with that slightly, but unless we don't have an opportunity. But no, I'm sure we'll talk about it though.
We'll get onto it. Yeah. I've got a segment saying, is it better or worse?
I think we've kind of
discussed that.
I think we all say it's better with flaws. So I thought like we can go on to like what was specifically different about it. And
do you want to catch up with chat? Just because
we can catch up to chat.
Let's do it before we move on.
That's a good point. I forgot we did this live, to be honest. So
it's good. You're relaxed. Don't say anything.
I'm relaxed. I'm sure not. And another thing. So Bug has said the difference between MCU and DCU is planning and time spent building the world. DC realized they were missing a trick with a coherent cinematic universe and trying to rush it to catch up. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all agree with that, and it's very obvious. And like I said at the start, I think a lot of the problems with this film aren't necessarily problems with this as a film. I mean, there are problems with this as a film, but a lot of my issues with the characters and the motivations of the characters is because there's not been enough time sort of building up to it.
Studio work, not
100%, yeah. And then also, come on then, Aquaman 2021.
Yeah. I mean,
it is a very Jason Momoa
that could be a line he actually says in this film.
Yeah. Well,
it might be.
Yeah.
Were you sad that there weren't any mustacheless CG eye lips in this version? Did you miss it from just this version?
I'm so glad that scene.
I cannot tell you how happy. Yeah, I cannot tell you how happy I am that at no point did I see weird lip.
To be fair, that's why on the Superman screen I've got on at the moment, like I made little screens for each character that I was like, I'll just flick to on the fly. And I realised I made this Superman one in response to what's different, what's good, what's bad. And I was like, I'll put a good picture of Superman up and then the mustache, like the weird lip thing. And I was like, everyone else is quite like a serious screen of them and stuff. And then you've just got Henry Cavill's weird CGI lip on screen.
You've got awesome Superman, Henry Cavill, and then you've got fucking cleft lip Clark, man. Yeah. I've absolutely got no time for it. No.
I was going to mention actually, Guff, when you said you thought a lot of it was the Superman resurrection scene was Whedon. So I watched. There's a bit of like behind us. What was I watching? I can't remember what I was watching now, but like Whedon did literally reshoot most of that scene. So a lot of it is like a lot of that scene is because a lot of it's like there's a joke where Superman says to Batman, "Do you bleed?" And Batman's like,
"Oh no, I know that's redone." Oh, it's
but a lot of it's reshot.
British accent.
Yeah, no, it's mad. But a lot of it was actually reshot, and because I did the same. I got up to that point in the film. I was like, "Oh, I wonder if they're going to do this different." Because I remember from the original cut that it was the main bit where his lip was weird. Was that sequence? But yeah, apparently most of it's just reshot to make it funnier. I don't know.
Sorry, while we're talking about reshoots, I saw one that like really bugs me now, especially with like a lot of the stuff that's going on. And I don't know if it's worth commenting on, but like there's a shot of when I think he's been to see Aquaman, and it's when he's gone to get the Flash, when Bruce Wayne's gone to get Ezra Miller and they're getting off the plane and they meet Diana at the runway. There, and it's the first time Diana and Barry meet. But there is a shot that Joss Whedon redid. I've got a meme of it, so I might post it in the Discord later. But like, someone's got a shot of Bruce Wayne walking down the steps of his private jet, and then it just cuts to Diana, who he's having a conversation with, like a normal shot, right? Joss Whedon reshot that, and they put 10 grand, whether it's that actual pricing, but he reshot that whole scene simply for a shot of Gal Gadot's bum. There is literally the same scene of him walking off the plane, talking to Diana, but you can see here is Gal Gadot's bottom, and here is further along here is Bruce Wayne, and it's like, why?
Great.
Why, you creep?
Because Josh
why
Whedon,
did you need to reshoot
Because
that?
Joss Whedon,
a pervert.
we know why now, don't we?
Yeah,
we know
we
why.
know why. Yeah. But I was like, that's actually upset me now, because I didn't even remember that scene, of course.
No, I don't recall.
But then I saw that comparison, and I was like,
yeah,
great.
Well,
great,
there's a flash boob grab as well, isn't there, in the Whedon cut?
Yeah, of course there is. Clown.
Yeah.
Is there?
Absolute clown.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
mate,
falls on top of Wonder. Oh no, his face in the boot. I can't remember what it is, but it's
Sorry.
like he falls on top of her or something. And...
I do not
I-
remember that. To be fair, I spent most of this film going, was that in the original? Was that in the theatrical cut? Was this new? Is that different? Like even
you can,
the whole.
You can usually tell by Ben Affleck's weight and Henry Cavill's mustache. That's like the two key things.
Yeah.
I was just sat there like I've no like even all the Superman Resurrection stuff. I was like, is this how it happens in this? I can't remember.
That's pretty much beat for beat.
Yeah,
same,
but do you know when it's just like.
I think that's better actually because it tees up the end of the film quite well.
I tried.
If you want to go on to changes, if we go into our changes bit, what's different and what's not?
Yeah.
That bit actually is something that I actually preferred because there's a bit where Flash can reverse his time a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
I really liked that. Yeah.
So he has to hit the box as it hits the water, but like he goes so fast, like it hits the water before he gets there, and then he reverses time a bit, and then he hits it. And then that kind of plays back at the end of the film as well, where he reverses time a bit.
That,
and I was like, foreshadowing, well done, structure to film.
Mm.
Well done, structuring the film.
I want to say though, like, because that leads me kind of nicely to the point I sort of giggled myself to then, but I've since day one I've loved the aesthetic of the Flash in this, and the thing that really let it down was obviously some of the fucking awful depiction they did for Barry Allen, and it's still not perfect. It's still the odd bit of dialogue where I'm a bit like, okay, I'm a bit indifferent about that, but mostly I thought it was a really bloody good character in this. And I thought like, nice segue. But yeah, no, I really liked his depiction. I love the whole. I mean, I didn't realize the whole sequence of him, meeting Iris West for the first time. That was kind of one of the more notorious cuts that were made because like she was cast and everything, and it was made known that she was going to be Iris West and things like that, and then they cut it completely. But I like that was him applying for a job, like just in like a dog groomer's. And like I thought that set him up quite well. It was like a good comedic opportunity. It was a great, fucking fantastic visual piece to show him his powers for the first time again in the we've seen
the bit through the glass was really cool. Like his shoes coming off. The one thing, can I just mention the one thing that him stroking her hair?
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. Yeah.
No, do you know? No, this is what I was going to giggle about.
So weird.
When he strokes her hair and he fucking grabs the hot dog, I was like, what's he doing with this hot dog?
I was like, is this a phallic joke? Is it a phallic joke?
In her mouth?
It's so like.
I was like, what's he doing? But that bit was really funny where he grabs the hot dog because I was like, but I also laughed out loud because I was like, he's clearly like a poor student kind of person. I was like, is he going to eat that hot dog later? And I really liked the idea of that. I thought it was dead funny. But then I thought it was really good that it's something that he says, like, I always bring treats,
Yeah. I mean, I thought that separately I felt like the face stroking and then grabbing the hot dog was like, this is some weird sexual thing.
Yeah, same.
I
thought that.
But then I thought like, if you remove the face stroking and don't make it that weird and he just pinches the hot dog, that's a fine joke.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that joke. I think the two combined are like, I'm not sure what's going on here.
The face stroking made me a bit uncomfortable, but I did enjoy the rest of that sequence. I thought it was really, and it was visually stunning. Like I think the visuals for the Flash, apart from the way floppy runs, is so good.
Yeah, Ezra Miller's
gotta go fast.
Yeah, I don't think Ezra Miller's ever run anywhere.
Yeah. Should we talk about like Flash then? And like I think like two characters who get probably a much more screen time and are much like justified a lot more in this cut are Flash, particularly with that scene at the start, and also Cyborg get a lot.
Mm-hmm. So,
I was just
gonna like as we were saying about the moment where he kind of reverses time when he does the mother box slightly, and then does it again at the end. I was like, it's nice that Flash got his moment in that kind of that big fight at the end, because that fight at the end, like I think it's okay, but I think like. The issue with it is, and I don't know if it was edited differently or
it's a lot better.
Yeah,
this one.
I think because I remember sitting there watching it in the theatrical cut, going, why are the rest of them there? Because Superman can just destroy everything here. Like, he can just like rip apart Steppenwolf and it's going to be fine. But I remember in this being like, oh, because it kind of just read a lot better of they were stalling because they were hoping.
Yeah, so do you want me to remind you what happens in the theatrical one? So in the theatrical one, Joss Whedon put in like a Russian family.
Yeah,
so there's like a Russian family who were there, and then there's bits where Barry Allen's kind of just trying to take people out instead of actually doing anything. Well, I suppose that is useful. And then there's also a bit where Superman comes back to save the day, and it's very abundantly clear that he could do it all on his own. And then there's a bit where Batman's like, oh, there's people that need saving, and Superman like flies off with Flash for the rest of them to then get their ass kicked by Steppenwolf. So they like do this weird bit where Superman's like then carrying a building, and it's really bad. And this one is much better.
There's a bit though that someone reminded me of, because I forgot this was the motivation, that in the Justice League there is this whole existential crisis with Bruce Wayne and Diana where neither of them feel qualified to be the leader of the Justice League. And like it is this whole thing where I think we can pretty much say Batman is the leader of the Justice League. You know, I think I think in most iterations he is, if not the spiritual leader, even if he just says it's Superman.
I mean, even if he's not openly leader, he is the leader in his own head, which is all that's important.
Absolutely, But that's it.
It's like the Illuminati within his own Justice League, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's it. Like he is the leader of the Justice League, and in the other one, he's having this whole existential crisis. But it's like, and it's the whole point of like, oh, he needs to lead this team because he's a symbol of hope. And it's like, a symbol of hope is not what's needed to lead a team. Like, it's great to have that person exist, and like the idea of Superman brings people hope, and you know all this is a great message. But for the reasons you're giving it in the film make no sense that you would all of a sudden have this existential crisis about leading a team. I mean, if they delved more into the Robin side of things, then maybe, but we haven't in previous films, and the Justice version didn't. So like, it clearly was rubbish. But in this, I like how that's not the motivation. It's literally like Superman is just a big gun. Like, we would love the world would be great to have him back, but realistically speaking, like Diana's like, I can barely take them on. She's like almost able to go toe to toe. Yeah, she's a demigod, and she can pretty much go toe to toe with Superman. But even she's like, there's no one as strong as them apart from Superman. And and I did quite like the idea that the mother boxes are these sentient things that recognize that there was a Kryptonian and now there isn't. So it's like, actually, we need to like bring reinforcements now, because
that makes sense. That was the thing that woke it up.
Absolutely.
Like, I can't what happened, because I quite like the sound of his echo, like at the start, like echoing through everything. Was like it left this ripple. I mean, it does question like what happened before Superman was there 30 years ago.
I thought
thousands of years, but you know, we'll let that slide. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I did much prefer. I think the mother boxes had a lot better. Kind of just explanation around them.
Comic booky as well, like in terms of like they actually felt like something that, again, like they weren't. I don't think they were like too like obscure that a new member of the audience, like someone who's never read a comic book before, wouldn't understand what they were. Like, and I don't feel like it was really expositional. Like, it was the exposition that was done for them was done quite well. We kind of learnt more about them gradually and things like that. And I liked the little thing where they have that whole thing, because I really didn't understand what they were talking about when they said about that whole thing about heating up the ship's armor, and it became a really hot surface underneath. And they were like, and I was like, why are they talking about that? Because it's on Superman's ship. But then obviously it's the whole thing that it's alien, and they realize that because it becomes such a hot element that there's nothing else like it in the world. So Silas does it as a way of a beacon to you know. I quite liked that. I thought it was a good little payoff, but I think I didn't expect it, so it threw me off. But yeah, I like the way they did the mother box in this. But I think sorry, I kind of went off my point, but like I like the idea that in this it's not Superman's the leader, Superman's the big gun, and in the Justice League comics, that's the thing that works best as well. And I think they balance those. I think one of the points I made was that balances the team exactly like they do in a comic. Like Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman are the heavy hitters. Batman's the tactician. He's doing all the technical stuff, usually with Cyborg. And then you've got the Flash, who is the person who's making sure people out the way, getting, you know, he's a runner. Like he's the one that's doing all the and they treated it like this, and I and I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I agree with the end.
My kind of point was that in the original version, it kind of felt like, why are the rest of them here? Superman just can do this on his own.
100%.
And like, I feel like he still could do this on his own, but they're like buying time for him to arrive, and it was kind of like, well, we need to get Cyborg there to take, like, Superman can't do that. Do you know what I mean? I know he helps at the end, like, pull them apart with his pure strength, but like, he can't get into the mind of the Unity and pull the mother boxes apart. Like, Cyborg needs to do that. Wonder Woman and Aquaman have the strength to fight Steppenwolf for a little while to keep him distracted. You know, Batman can take on some parademons.
Just shooting a gun in the corner, just like pew, pew, pew.
So bad.
But I've got to say,
I
really did enjoy those bits. I feel like I really enjoyed the action sequences with Batman in this.
Did you?
Film.
I hated them all.
Like,
for me,
really
Batman shooting a gun, I'm just like, mate, there's so many more interesting things you could do here.
That was really boring, but the bit I thought having that whole sequence where he's racing in with the new airship thing, and then he just goes straight from that sequence where he's in the Batmobile and the lights light up and he just mows down the parademons as it opens up, and then he just drives out, and then there's like a whole sequence of him wrecking through this abandoned city with the Batmobile, and the whole thing with Batman vs Superman is he's just fucking killing people with his car. But now it's fine because they don't want to die. It's an abandoned city. But that whole sequence I thought was so fun to watch and really enjoyable. And then when you see that, I got genuinely a lot of joy seeing him like swing and throw that like bomb at the parademon, and it blew up, like using his gadgets that we haven't really seen him use properly. And there wasn't a lot of it, don't get me wrong, but the things that we did see, I really enjoyed. It felt very comic booky, and but it didn't feel contrived. Do you know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, but I think it's just nice that Flash had his point. Flash had his.
I was going to say, like, they
not...
wouldn't have won that fight without Flash.
No, exactly.
Like, Superman turns up, and he turns up too late because the things stuck together.
Yeah.
They basically lost the fight until Flash does his little reverse time thing where he's just running around in a big circle for 10 minutes.
Also, I think that is one of the most stunning sequences.
It looks great, actually. Yeah, it did look
visually so nice to watch, and like the music's great. I think the dialogue's a bit thingy, but like
I think dialogue's bad in this film, but I do think the removal of Danny Elfman's score and putting Junkie XL back on it is a big improvement.
Massively.
It's just like Danny Elfman's like obviously done the iconic like Batman themes and stuff, but yeah, I don't think it really works. Well, the first Justice League was a mess of just stuff stuck together anyway, and that was part of one sort of bandage over the mess that was that film. But yeah, I do think getting the score back was really nice.
See,
and it does remind me how good the Man of Steel score is.
Yeah. See, I was about to say, I like the music in this film. I don't like the use of music in this film. It feels like they have motifs and they never felt like they kind of wandered too far away from them. It was like, okay, Wonder Woman's on screen, Amazon music, Superman's on screen.
No.
This music.
Let's get this straight. Like, the Wonder Woman music was not the Wonder Woman music. It's the Wonder Woman music with someone fucking screaming over it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that like anytime there's an Amazonian on screen, they just put that.
It was weird, actually, wasn't it? I kind of would prefer they just did the other one.
And like,
but they even have the.
They did a couple of times,
but then there's the.
Yeah.
Can I get a Hoya?
It's like there was some weird, really, really jarring moments for me as well, where it was like heavy metal, and then it was like boom, orchestra, heavy metal, and I'm like, I'm not into this at all. And then it's also like and this goes for like pretty much everything. I said this on stream the other night that Zack Snyder tries to make every moment be like this. Oh my god, that was. Oh my god, like every moment be a Avengers Assemble or like the hammer being picked up or portals. He wants every moment to be like that. And consequently, no moment is like that. Because if you.
Syndrome.
It's like the slow mo.
Everyone's super, then no one is.
Exactly. It's like, Rob just said the slow mo. If you use slow mo all the time.
If everything's slow, nothing is slow. Yeah. Time is relative.
Because like, you used it that much. I was saying we like that Flash moment, but you've used slow mo so much that probably doesn't have as much impact as it could do if you hadn't had slow-mo for 10% of the goddamn film. And it's the same with the music. Like, there's a bit where it shows Superman's ship, and it plays Superman's theme. And it's like, think about how good that would feel if you haven't heard that really, really incredible Man of Steel score, which I love, until we see until he appears at that end and stops Steppenwolf absolutely clobbering Cyborg. Imagine you just played Superman's music for the first time at that moment. You're gonna that's gonna be like, oh my, yeah. You're gonna be like,
it's Infinity War where we don't hear the Avengers theme, and then we're in Edinburgh and we see Cap's silhouette.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, and it feels great. It feels so good to have that moment. Yeah. I couldn't agree more with that.
But he does it with everything. Like every moment he tries to add so much significance to that.
There's Aquaman taking a shirt off and jumping into the sea gets a minute slow-mo sequence.
Exactly.
Also throws a bottle into the sea and I bet the fish are fuming.
Disgraceful, man.
I bet the fish are absolutely fuming.
There's a climate crisis, Aquaman.
Jesus
Christ. Like, respect the waves.
Is that not a whole plot point?
In the water, he's fucking...
Is that not a whole plot point in the Aquaman film? That... Isn't that something
I can't remember anything about that.
Isn't that something about them being like, we should, we should, oh my god, we should like get out and kill the humans because they're wrecking the sea or something. I'm sure that's something that's mentioned in Aquaman.
And Aquaman's, it's fucking crazy. Like just hides all the bad shit.
Yeah,
he's like, oh yeah, those humans, right? That's crazy, man. Crazy how they litter, and he's like stuffing he's taking his McDonald's packet out the water. And
so what do you guys? I was going to move on to Cyborg, who obviously, like, there's been so much talk about Ray Fisher, who's, accused Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon of kind of bullying behavior on set, which we now know.
I think, like, the exec at the time as well, like, the head of Warner Brothers.
Probably is true.
It probably is true based on what we know. And which is obviously, like, really bad. And obviously, he was cut out of the majority of the theatrical cut, which is very weird considering he is kind of like, I mean, I think Zack Snyder's referred to him as like the heartbeat of this film. And he gets like so much. I mean, I almost think like he should have had his own film before this because I think like he gets a lot more to do, but we don't ever really know him before he is. I know we get a few flashbacks, but we don't ever really know him, who he is before he becomes Cyborg. Like the bad stuff's kind of happened to him already. And I'm kind of like, while I kind of appreciate all the backstory for him and you kind of get more of a bond with him, and I think his dad is really good. I think it's a shame that you don't know him before that happens, because he's kind of I think this is for a lot of the film. I think he's quite a dour character, and like you can kind of understand that because his life is shit. But I think like if you have a bit more sympathy with him before that happens, I think that would really pay off a bit more. But I do like that we have a lot more of him in this film.
I either think you need to do it like that, where we know him before it, or we don't know anything up until a certain point, and then it all kind of comes out, and you realise kind of how tragic it is. Do you know what I mean? So like we see him, and we're kind of like, "Who's this?"
It's told in like weird flashback, isn't it? Yeah, and, like, it's memory and things like that.
It's again the thing of it's just not edited well. It's like you get snippets, but I think it'd be better just like, who's this weird cyborg dude? Like, who is he? Like, where's he come from? And why is he so, as you say, like grumpy and dour and angry about everything? And then you kind of have a moment where he's with the team, and it kind of, I don't know how that comes about, but it all comes out, and you go, oh, dude, this guy's just a kid, man, and his life's kind of, you get it as a big impact rather than just kind of, oh, here's a little bit, here's a little bit, here's a little bit, and I feel like it could be a much bigger, more impactful moment from an audience perspective. I don't know if it's just because that, like, because we've had the theatrical cut, vaguely the story sort of thing, that it just doesn't have the same impact. But I feel like if it all was a bit more of a mystery rather than being kind of, just kind of, oh, here's a little bit of his story, we'll get back to him in a bit sort of thing.
I think it's hard for me to like, because I agree with you in terms of, again, I think there's a big pacing problem, and I think the only way you really you get the best of both is because there is the exposition scene where he sort of describes what's happened to the Justice League, and he kind of used his projector to sort of indicate what's going on, and he says, there was a researcher who stole the mother box,
I like
he
that scene.
Used it to have his son. To have all that to be his backstory is great, and I feel like really the sequence with like his mum and like him playing football and all those sequences are really well done and they're really stunning. I think if he was guaranteed to get his own film, they would have been perfect in that, because it's like after the Justice League, he's sort of reminiscing about those things that turned him into this and like led him there. I kind of agree with you, but I also don't want to take it out because I enjoyed all the Cyborg
Yeah.
stuff that I saw. Like,
It's a hard one, yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I feel like I would rather the things be removed elsewhere and keep, like, for me, Cyborg and the Flash and the way they did these two characters don't need to be touched in any way. Maybe the hair touching thing with Iris West maybe get removed, but like everything else, I think is absolutely bang on. I really like even the way Billy Crudup acts. Like, he's a lot more serious in the Justice League version, while in this he's like, "Come on, man, you're wasting your life," and he's like, he feels like a bit of like. He's you can imagine language wise he's someone that's brought this kid up, you know what I mean? Like,
can I just do a bit the bit in the prison where Flash is talking to his dad, and his dad says one of the stupidest lines I've ever heard in a film is Barry talks about wanting to be involved in criminal justice, and he says criminal justice for me is my son not wasting his life. Doesn't make any sense.
Makes no
what
sense.
What does that mean? That's not a line of Chris Terrio, man. Or Zack, whoever wrote that line, Jesus.
Destroyer of worlds.
There's a few lines in that. I did write a few down. I'm not going to go through them all, but that was one for me where it's just like, when you just like stop and it just takes you out of the film. You're like, what? I'm sorry.
Do you know
what that means? That doesn't mean anything.
Do you know what got me? There's a bit where Steppenwolf, like when he first fights them together in the sort of well, it's not the nuclear stack. It's like above the sewers, isn't it? Where he's captured and kept people.
I thought that bit was better as well, actually, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a lot better, yeah. And I loved the way the Flash caught all the rubble. That was a fantastic little visual bit as well. Him actually doing stuff. And, I mean, they cut out that whole thing that Joss Whedon put in where it's like, I just push people and run away. And it's like, fuck off. Like, that's so lame. Yeah. But, like, anyway, but, like, I really thought it was a weird line where Steppenwolf, like Wonder Woman rounds on him and the parademons are about to attack her and he goes, "No, she's mine." Clearly meaning they're about to fight. And he's like, I want this one as like, she's a big gun. I'm going to fight her as a proud thing. I'm proud to fight her. And then she goes, "I belong to no one." I felt like Steppenwolf like, God. I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable. I didn't mean it like in a derogatory way.
I wasn't being misogynistic, okay?
I'm not sexist.
The Furies on my planet are actually all strong women. So I actually believe in it loads.
Yeah.
It's like, it felt like she just kind of misunderstood what he said. And then was making it like, I belong to no one. He's like, I didn't mean that. I just
it's a Twitter argument in one scene, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's that bit as well where Barry Allen does a thing where he like, is it the bit or is it the bit at the end where she drops a sword and he like, does a slow-mo and like knocks it back into her hand. Do you know what happens at the end of that? She falls on the floor when next to where a sword would be. What's the point? That sums up.
He's just trying to help Rob.
Yeah, but that sums up the film perfectly for me. It's like, we can just cool sequence where Barry runs and he pokes the sword into her hand, and then there's just no thought about whether, it might look cool, but there's no thought about whether it actually makes sense. It's just, we'll do it because it looks good. And then they both just fall. I'm like, she could have picked it up.
If she needed that sword to quickly slash something mid-air, just let her do that.
Yeah,
just put that in the film.
Something mid-air, yeah.
It might have been edited out at all.
Yeah, maybe.
But this is what an editor should be doing. It should be doing like, well, that doesn't make sense because she's just.
Yeah,
but,
I think.
It's not a big thing, but
this film is not cut together well. Like the way that it's literally gone from one scene to another, and there's like, I think you touched upon it like mostly, Matt, but like. I think for me, like the fact that there's like no cuts that seem to be used, like there's like, even though they're quite typically done, but like a crossfade, I couldn't tell you if there's a fucking single crossfade in this film. And like things like that and dips to black indicate like, time passing and things like that. There's all these like things that are visually used by directors to indicate like a passing of time or a flashback or something like that. There's fuck all of that. There's like no transitions to indicate anything.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of like directors not treating people like idiots. But then visually speaking, I'm pretty sure there's a bit that goes from like present day to back in time, and it's a straight cut. And I was like, why?
Probably the only things were the chapters.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe the epilogue.
The shittest names for chapters.
Oh, what was the first one?
First one is like
Age of Heroes.
No, that's two.
Don't count on it, Batman. It's called Don't Count on It, Batman.
Why is it called Don't Count on It, Batman? It's so stupid.
Don't know.
It's so
Doesn't make any
bad.
sense. And the epilogue one.
It's not like Fall Out Boy song titles. I like Fall Out Boy, but the song title's ridiculous.
So I was watching it. I think I was like putting it on the Discord or something at the time, or something. And I was like, "Why is the epilogue title come up? This is just the end of the film."
Yeah.
And then like 5 minutes after that, there is an actual epilogue. It's
That's
like,
what I mean.
Yeah. Why is it not
It's so weird.
Are we gonna get specifically onto them? Because I have a point to make.
I'm going to get on the epilogue. Well, not necessarily chapters, but I was going to talk about the epilogue.
Yeah.
I suppose the chapters are kind of part of the structure that doesn't really make sense, and there's not really much.
The thing is, it doesn't add anything. It doesn't bring anything to the film having those title cards there because they're not even natural stopping points. You know, if like they'd done this 4-hour thing and they'd gone, we understand it's 4 hours. People aren't going to want to sit there for 4 hours and watch it all. Should we add some kind of natural chapters and stopping points where people can, you know, just sit down, go and get a drink, go. They're not even that really. Like,
edit it, yeah.
It's not like I was like cliffhanger either to make you go, oh, I'm just going to run to the toilet and come straight back. I want to see what happens in the next chapter. But they're not kind of. I feel like we can leave it there for today and carry on tomorrow.
Like it just doesn't.
Like
a mini series.
Yeah,
and then
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
It was when you first announced the Snyder Cut. They were like, "Oh, it's going to be in 4 parts."
It was, but clearly you couldn't release this as 4 parts because everyone's set for a first hour and be like,
"This is crap."
Nothing happened.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they changed that though because that is the thing where it's like as long as this film is. Can you imagine if they released it in like episodes where it's like that's not an end of an episode?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
in no way thematically ends that section. Like that's not. I couldn't find a natural ending point if you asked me to. Like apart from the end of the film.
Which the epilogue they didn't even put at the end of the film. Like it wasn't even.
Yeah.
It was so dumb. The epilogue. It was so dumb.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it in a minute. I just want to talk briefly and sort of what was different. It was Steppenwolf, and obviously Steppenwolf got a massive. Well, I wouldn't say a massive redesign, but you know, in my opinion, he looks miles better than he did in the theatrical. I mean, okay, the silhouette's kind of the same, is what I'm saying. It's not like
man with horns, perhaps. Yes,
you can tell it's the same. You can tell it's the same character. But he looks miles better, and obviously he's kind of like the Loki in this to Thanos's. Dark side, I guess. So I just want to talk about like, obviously he gets a lot more screen time. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as kind of the top tier. I'm going to say top tier Marvel villains again, but I think he's miles better than he was in the theatrical, and I think having Dark side there is obviously miles better as well. I still think their motivations of being, I just kind of want to destroy the world. I'm not really delving into that in any sort of way. He's still a bit 2D, but I mean, I think it's a massive improvement on what we got from the Justice League.
I think the fact from like Steppenwolf's perspective, he seemed to have a motivation for destroying the world, even if it was simple as Darkseid wants to destroy the world, and I've let Darkseid down, so I need to do this for him.
I kind of saw it as I want to come home.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's what I mean. I think with his, it's kind of like, why do you want to destroy the world though? Just cause banter sort of thing.
Does Darkseid just want more parademons?
That's what I mean. I don't really know why Darkseid wants to destroy the world, but at least with Steppenwolf, it was kind of like, well, this is why he wants to do this. Is retribution, and he wants to. Yeah. And I was like really surprised by that one because I was kind of for the first part of it before you got that scene. I was just like, yeah, they've not done anything to make him any better, have they? Apart from visually, and then it was like, oh no, because he was like, oh, since the disappointment or something like that, or the betrayal. Well, I can't remember how they phrased it, but he's done something to kind of let down Darkseid and stuff. So he's kind of trying to redeem himself, and I kind of like the relationship that he was. He is this big, powerful thing, but he is still an underling, and he is, everyone.
Did you like his puppy eyes?
Everyone, yeah, it's cute.
Loved his puppy eyes. Yeah.
Joe, like people do, kind of. He's almost like taking the piss out of by all the guys back at like Darkseid HQ. That they're just like, oh, look at him, he's pathetic, and you're like.
Yeah, I do quite like. I really enjoyed. Not like that felt like a twist, not a twist, but like, do you know what I mean? Like it felt like
oh, cool. Yeah,
because I thought in this version that Steppenwolf, he's normally like the herald of Darkseid anyway from the comic. So I thought
he's uncle
in this
or something,
version,
isn't he? Right?
Say again.
Steppenwolf's his uncle or something.
Uncle, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know if it is in here.
I think they do mention he's related. Yeah, they do mention he's related in it.
I thought he just said like something to do. You chose family, so I thought it was like he betrayed Darkseid because he maybe had some. I inferred from the conversation that Steppenwolf did something for his own family that maybe Darkseid didn't agree with, and because he showed compassion towards his family, and that's something that Apocalypse like ethos doesn't agree with, and it's all about being evil and shit, that they didn't like that. Because he even says later on, he says like something about I can't remember who he says it to, but he says to one of the heroes something about family, and he says it's a weakness. So it's almost as like, so I inferred that anyway. But regardless,
maybe he just gave him a birthday present, and Darkseid was like, "Get out."
He's like, "Fuck off."
No way.
You what?
No presents.
You did what?
What? An Amazon gift voucher? I want to destroy the world, mate. What are you doing?
He's like, "Do you want this?" It's like different Amazon. Different Amazon is like, I've been with it for 40,000 years. I need to get rid of this voucher. Does it work with you?
Yeah.
No. Fuck. Yeah, he thinks the mother boxes are just post boxes he can send it. No, he's well, I thought when he first landed in this version, he would be doing it all for Darkseid by direct order. So the fact that it turned out he was doing it as like, I'm doing it for you. But can we just appreciate how fucking gutted when he's like, you think this is one fucking planet, mate? You own 50,000 planets.
Yeah, whatever the number was. I was like,
Oh my god.
Oh,
I love the fact that he has a list of like planets he has to like.
Yeah.
And there's an exact number as big as 50,000. It's like, it's been taking him 4 hours to do this one.
I tell you what though, how dumb are Darkseid and his boys though, that when they tried to invade Earth all those years ago to get the equation that's written into the Earth, what's it called? I can't remember what they call it.
Anti-life equation.
Yeah, the anti-life equation. Even though they got defeated and ran away, no one took down the coordinates, man. No one was like, "That's a planet we." No one like. That's a planet we need to go back to, man. Like we've lost.
Let's
I was really confused by that.
Let's go and regroup. Let's get some reinforcements. Like maybe let's get some big guns. But no, they just forgot where it was.
Yeah, I'm not being funny, but like for him to be like, nah, I think this is where it is, though. I can feel it in the dirt. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, just fucking write it down.
Yeah.
Fair enough, you forgot where the mother boxes were. Fair enough, you were like, oh, actually, there's a lot of people there that can hurt us. We'll leave the mother boxes.
There's a lot of trees that could be buried under, so we're not going to check all of them.
Yeah, we're not going to check. Yeah, but what I was really confused by that. Yeah. That felt like the poorest writing in this version. Just felt like. For me, as in like an actual plot bit of writing that felt flawed. I was quite happy with most of it. That one was just glossed over.
Because it's even
I got very confused by that.
Because even if it was kind of like Darkseid doesn't want to reveal that information to Steppenwolf, like even if it's just like that, and he's like, "You need to get it," and then it comes out, it's like, "Oh, it's not just about destroying this world and doing the mother boxes and getting more parademons. There's also something else there that he wants." It just wasn't even that. It was just like, yeah, Darkseid's forgotten as well. It's just so weird.
Do you know what? I saw someone make a really good point, by the way, quickly while we're talking about Darkseid and this whole pilgrimage to Earth. I saw someone make a fairly good point, which was, it didn't bother me as much, but I suppose I agree with it, though, is the first time we see Darkseid, who is this universe's Thanos, we see him get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
The very first shot we see him is seeing his ass kicked. I'm intimidated by Darkseid because of what I know about him in the comics. So I'm like, but then does anyone who's not known who this character is just look at him and go, he got his fucking ass kicked straight away?
That's my problem with a lot of this universe, is that it relies on you knowing something And I think like the thing with Barry Allen and Iris West, like I think you're supposed to know that's Iris West, like before. So him stroking her face isn't supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be like, oh, she's going to be his girlfriend or something in the future. Do you know what I mean? I think you're kind of supposed to know that. I think that's kind of a weird thing about this. Yeah. That it's kind of too fan servicey in a way. Like it's like, I think given that BVS, like the nightmare sequence, and everyone knows that's kind of the name's going out of my head. What universe is that? The Injustice. Yeah. So like as comic book readers and comic book fans, we know what that's supposed to be. But like, if it's, like, our mum, for example, watches and likes the Marvel films. She watched this, she'd have no idea what's going on as like a coherent piece of filmmaking. And I think that's kind of a lot of the problem, is that they just assume that you know what it is or what it's supposed to be. And they've not looked at it as like, okay, someone coming into this completely blind, are they going to have a clue what's going on? Or know who these characters are?
There's a lot of comic book gatekeeping that I think makes that a problem, which really upsets me. Is that like there's a lot of gatekeeping in comic book communities where people really don't take into account that something doesn't need to be over-explained. which comics do a lot of anyway.
Yeah.
But you also need to appeal to a broader audience.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a mix that like a lot of films have nailed, and like, again, we hate to compare them to Marvel so closely, but Marvel have nailed being able to take what's comic lore and remux it so that it is accessible to all people.
Yeah.
Like as long as you've maybe watched the previous film. But do you know what I mean? Like that is what that is. While I do agree with you, like this film seems to rely, and don't get me wrong, like I think that's why I enjoy it as much as I do. I think if I wasn't a comic book fan, I think I'd be pretty much on board with you, Matt. I think a lot of the things that saved it for me was that I just really did have fun, but I think I had fun watching it because of the things I already knew about comics and the things I love about these characters, you know, like I think that's, but I do sort of feel for anyone. Like, I've told my sister, I was like, if you want to watch it, but I was like, where normally I might go like, oh, you'd really enjoy this. I've been like, you might, because,
hate it.
but you might, because my sister doesn't really know much about DC. So it's like, I don't know if she would be into it, but it's,
While we're I was going to say, while we're on the
sorry.
topic of bad guys, can I say how much I hate the parademons? I think they're really naff, man. They look like I've realised what they look like. They look like the little henchmen from the early 2000s Van Helsing film.
You say that like it's a fucking bad thing.
They're little jokes, man. I really, as like enemies, I really hate them. I don't know why. I just think they're really naff.
There's a bit where they think the paradigm breaking is Batman, right?
I don't.
And I quite like that. I quite like that's why I call it. That's how it kind of. There's kind of a bit more. I know there's not much of this, but there's a bit more kind of stuff where stuff links up a bit better in this film than there is in.
World building, in it. Like it's the idea that like, oh, there's this Batman in Gotham City, and apparently we're only across the lake.
Yeah.
And we got a bit more Jim Gordon, didn't we? Which is good.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
I really liked that sequence. I really enjoyed because I think it's such a shame that as much as I'm very happy with the direction Batman seems to be going in with Matt Reeves and the castings all there are great, I really, really thought when they cast J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon,
they got
this
it.
is brilliant.
Yeah,
this is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, seeing him a bit more as Jim Gordon was a lot of fun. Like I enjoyed that, and like just how like sort of no nonsense he was like, who the fuck are these people?
I love just thinking of shit. They obviously get the bit on the rooftop again as well, which is quite drastically different.
Because that's where
there's one thing. Sorry, is that the bit where you're going to say where he fights the parademon?
No, I was going to say like on the rooftop bit, like because in the originals, isn't that when Aquaman shows up and he's just like dressed like a bat?
Oh yeah, Aquaman does show up.
I dig it. But that bit wasn't in there, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, like the start, like so like Whedon's version starts with that scene as well, pretty much.
No. It starts with that because
it's near the start.
It's fairly near the start. No, it's not because Cyborg and the Flash still turn up, so it's still after the Flash.
They turn up very early though in the Whedon cut.
Oh, fair enough, but I can't remember. But there is a Gotham City scene where he fights a parademon. That is pretty much the opening.
Sorry, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, the one where he fights the parademon is like right at the start of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then he
it's like after the Superman weird stuff.
And then he lures out a parademon because of fear, and then like squashes him against the wall, and then the mother boxes show up on the wall.
Oh, that's not how it happens.
It's bad, isn't it? I watched this video before, and they were talking about two things, and I was like, I was giving Whedon's cut a bit of a free ride here because I didn't remember it being this bad, and now I kind of like this one more because it's comparatively much better.
I did see a thing that apparently the mother boxes are also shown in the Icelandic pub.
Okay.
On the wall, they're etched in like it's an old hieroglyphic. It's like, why? It's an Icelandic pub.
Yeah. Do you want a little bit of trivia? A little bit of trivia. Apparently, Jason Momoa's Icelandic was so bad they even put Icelandic subtitles over what he was saying because it was just gibberish. Apparently, apparently people in Icelandic sort of cinemas watching it or wherever they're watching it find it quite funny.
He literally spoke a whole made-up language in Game of Thrones. How could he not manage a few lines of Icelandic?
Icelandic's impossible to learn. Apparently. Really hard.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate that woman who sniffs his shirt and starts singing?
Yeah,
that bit's so weird, man.
Cut that out.
That whole bit, I didn't mind.
I think the hot dog blocked that from my brain, to be honest.
Yeah, because I remember watching that going, I don't actually mind this little song they're doing because it's almost like a homage to this like mystical guy who comes out the sea and saves
Lord of the Rings.
But then when it went on, I was like, okay, you can cut now.
You
can cut now. She started picking up the shirt. You can cut now. She sniffs it. You can definitely cut now. Like, what? There was a lot of things about smell, though. Wasn't there a bit where when
it smells like fish, doesn't it?
Clark and Thingy are at the farm, and she goes, "You smell nice," or something like that. Was that not?
No, that
something?
was in Whedon's. That's in the Whedon version.
Oh, is that in the Whedon version?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, God.
But also, there is the bit where Alfred sniffs Bruce's underpants. So there's the bit where
Oh, there was one really good joke in this where doesn't Batman say something like, "Oh, I work for him" or something like that to Alfred?
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite a nice little.
That was nice.
Reminded me of that bit in Dark Knight where he's like, "I'm going to tell them it's all your idea."
Yeah.
But that's, you know what? I can one thing that I want to, because I can't remember whereabouts we are. I think we're quite towards the end of the list of things you want to talk about. I think right now Rob. But like,
pretty much, yeah. I mean, we've got the epilogue to talk about, and then I also want to talk about Snyder's version of these characters.
Okay, well, that's the point I was going to make, so I'll wait till the end then.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, I think we've covered kind of everything that we liked and disliked that was new. But one thing, obviously, we haven't talked about is the epilogue, which is kind of the new bit in the nightmare sequence that we've given a glimpse at in Batman v Superman. So yeah, I guess we should talk about this. This was kind of all the new stuff that Snyder reshot, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. After from the nightmare sequence.
Yeah,
from the nightmare sequence. Yeah,
because it was weird because it had like the
hero shot. And then the epilogue came up, and then it finished the film.
And then it had like the Lex Luthor stuff, and it was all this kind of stuff of going in a Marvel film. Some of this would be mid-credit scenes, but we're just going to put it all together in one weird package that makes no sense, like that doesn't lead on from one bit to another sort of thing.
Yeah, it feels like the nightmare sequence would be the mid-credit scene, it's like, and then the next bit would be post-credits.
Yeah,
I don't mind the film ending on that Lex Luthor Deathstroke scene, because apparently that was meant to set up the Batman film. All be about Deathstroke being, which is a story I'm gutted that we'll never see now, because actually I really like the look of Joe Magliano as Deathstroke. I think he looks the part.
He looks
fun to see what that would have been.
I really want to see a Ben Affleck Batman film, to be honest. I think he's a good filmmaker. Same. It's a shame that he kind of went, well, obviously he had personal problems at the time, didn't he? But
then it comes to the epilogue, the nightmare thing, and you're like, okay, this is an actual epilogue. I don't think Zack Snyder knows what the word epilogue means. I don't think Zack Snyder knows
he's too busy smacking his fucking toys together.
Yeah, too busy being a visionary.
I don't think Zack Snyder knows what a lot of things mean. But I thought this was kind of a cool glimpse. Like it's a cool thing to lead into stuff that's not going to happen, essentially, which is kind of a big problem I had with a lot of this film, that there's stuff in there that I'm like, I understand it's the Snyder cut of this film, but you've edited all this stuff together, and so much of it is leading towards films that aren't going to happen. That's not good. Like, I know at the time when you were making this film, you wanted this stuff to happen. This stuff was planned to happen. This stuff was going to happen. It's now not. And now I just think this, considering it was 4 hours long, there is stuff you could have cut out of this to make it a better film, standalone on its own. Because I'm not going to watch this again. I'm probably not going to watch this again. But if it was 2 hours, and a lot of that stuff that was that's setting up films that are never going to happen, unfortunately, they're not going to happen. I just think just take that out and make it a more palatable one. Even though that was once your vision. Now that you know it's never going to happen, just take that stuff out. I think the nightmare sequence is okay and stuff, but there's just certain bits where I went, that would just make this film so much more digestible just by cutting those bits out, sort of thing. And I know, and I think that's it. He knows the fans will love it, so it's there. But I think personally, to make it a better film, take it out.
I think it's the thing on relying people to know what this means.
Yeah.
We know what it means.
Imagine a randomer coming into the Martian Manhunter stuff. Those two weird scenes, man.
I thought that scene with
so weird.
Martha and Lois. It was a really nice scene.
Yeah, I thought.
It's Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, I have. Right, I had a huge problem with this. Right, I liked the idea that Lennox has always been Martian Manhunter.
I like that.
I like
cool idea.
Right? Great little bit of lore. great design as well. Obviously, the CGI isn't the best because it was one of these things that was done afterwards.
Yeah,
and
but
I think
it's cool.
I've tried
Yeah,
to
its design
forgive
looks
stuff
cool.
like that, but the design looks really cool, right? But yeah, the scene with Martha and Lois, you've undercut this really.
Yeah.
You literally just showed us this lovely scene, instantly ruined it.
It sums up Snyder for me that perfectly.
Yeah.
Like it really. It's like he doesn't really
It's
understand
like,
what's good.
we've got Martha and we've got Lois. We're having this beautiful scene. But wouldn't it be fucking cool if it was actually Martian Manhunter?
Yeah,
and it's
literally.
like,
I feel that's the whole film. Is
like
like something good, but wouldn't it be cool if? It's like, no, it wouldn't be cool if. It's like, it wouldn't.
It's like, that is such a shame that scene is ruined like that. Like and I do think it's ruined because
because
also,
that's such a lovely moment.
How uncool is that for Martian Manhunter to do? Let's just
that is emotional manipulation.
Well, not even that. Not even on Lois. Surely, the only way he knows how Martha Kent is feeling is that at one point, he, without her consent, might I add, read her mind, went, all right, that's how she feels. I'm going to dress as her, go talk to the grieving widow, pretty much, of my son, and share that really intimate moment
Psychopath.
as a third party. It's like Goldilocks' gran being a wolf. Like, that's what it is.
Goldilocks' gran?
Not what was
Red
it?
Riding
Little
Hood.
Red Riding Hood. Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood.
You're talking about the crossover, the
three
Zack
grand
Snyder's,
bears,
yeah.
No, it's like Little Red Riding Hood, but like instead the wolf decides to take her for a coffee and to laser quest and shit. Like,
it'd be pretty cool.
It's mad, isn't it?
It would be cool. But yeah, I really had a problem with that. But I liked the addition. But this is something to be said. Have we all heard what this scene should have been?
This
nightmare. Wasn't supposed to be Martian Manhunter. No, this wasn't supposed to be Martian Manhunter. This was supposed to be Jon Stewart's Green Lantern.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But Warner Brothers, and apparently Zack Snyder, again, sounds like a toddler here, said that he almost quit because he butted heads with Warner Brothers that much about them saying, we do not want you to do Green Lantern here. They were like, we're not letting you do Green Lantern.
If you see the Ryan Reynolds one, people don't like it. Do not put him in.
Well, apparently he wanted to bring Ryan Reynolds back for it, but then he changed his mind and wanted to do Jon Stewart, which I think, represents a lot of people's Green Lanterns, and he's a great addition to the team. But yeah, apparently they really butted heads on that, and he was like, I'm assuming this was really early on. Apparently it exists because he said, I shot it in my garden with a green screen, because apparently he has that, which is where the nightmare sequence is filmed, might I add. He filmed it all in his garden. So there is a version out there. There is the Snyder Cut. Hashtag Snyder Cut Plus. There is a version where Jon Stewart is that conversation. And I think that's why Ben Affleck might look considerably different, because obviously he looks like a lot thinner, because I think that was shot really recently, because obviously he's a lot thinner now.
Yeah, he's back on track again, which is nice, we should say.
Yeah, which is
nice
really
that he
good,
looks like healthy again.
But that's why he looks considerably different, because this was shot so late on, but apparently it was originally shot as Jon Stewart meeting him.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. I had a thought about the epilogue, or the nightmare sequence specifically. Like, that sequence feels like, while it's like a cool comic book kind of moment, and like we know what it means as fans of the comic books, wouldn't it be kind of cooler and better as a storytelling device if that wasn't, like, essentially, I mean, I know there's sort of time travel stuff involved in this, essentially, if it wasn't a dream, like, what if they ended this film, and I know, like, Matt, you just said you don't want it to have a cliffhanger or whatever, but what if that was the end of this film, is at the end of this film was them in the nightmare sequence and Steppenwolf or Darkseid won, and then the second, because obviously this was supposed to be 2 parts, what if the second part is then trying to get back to this was the snap at the end of Infinity War, instead of saying this is a potential thing that might happen in the future, so we don't really care about it, and Batman sometimes wakes up with this nightmare in his head. What if, like, the film actually ended with, maybe like a leap forward in time from the end of Justice League and Darkseid has won, we're in the epilogue is like, this is now, this is the now, this isn't a dream in Bruce Wayne's head, this is now, this is where we are, and then you open the Justice League Part 2 in the nightmare sequence. I think that would be really cool.
I think, yeah, I really feel like that was going to be where they did it because, like, it felt like when the world just exploded, I was like, oh shit, they've committed. They've committed to it. And then obviously we got the flash sequence, which I'm really happy about that we got, and things like that. But it felt very much like a bit of a wasted opportunity for what you were probably going to do. Because I've got to say, like, I kind of disagree with you, Matt, in terms of what you said about um, setting things up. Because I kind of agree with you that, like, if this film was like him going, if Warner Brothers had gone, you're going to take another stab at it. We're going to not address that version. This is the version that we're going forward with now. And he could have cut a lot of that stuff out that wasn't going to be done. Because this is based on the vision he had previously, I feel like it wouldn't have been the absolute truest version. And I know from a Zack Snyder perspective, going, you can argue it's a bit pretentious that he wants his vision pure personified, right? However, fans were the ones that did get this done.
True.
It was an online campaign of people going, let's get this to exist. I think if people, I think I very much would have seen through Warner Brothers going, well, you can't do that anymore, because we wouldn't have seen certain scenes that he teased of. You know what I mean? He teased certain scenes, even in pre-production and things like that, that we wouldn't have seen. I think it would have been, you could see right through it. So I really appreciate that this is sort of just like a version of the universe. It's bittersweet because it's just like, I would like to see some of this continued.
Yeah.
But I think it's bittersweet in that respect. But it exists, and like I can look at it for what it is and go, all right, well, we'll never get that, or we may not get it in this form, but at least I saw what they were going to do, and the things that were teased and promised to us were in they did exist. They existed, and it's not. I don't feel lied to with this version.
Yeah,
I feel like we got absolutely what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, I think some of it, 100%. Like, I wouldn't say don't put the nightmare sequence in it and stuff like that. I think just like the Martian Manhunter stuff, just like little moments where you go in like this, just take that out, because that's not like, it would have led to something, but I think it's so small that it can kind of be taken out, and it's not cool. Like, I didn't think either Martian Manhunter moment was very, as you said, it ruined that Martha moment. And the other one was kind of like
arguably the second best Martha moment in the DC.
Yeah. And the other one was just
she gets a bad rap, does Martha?
She does, yeah.
She gets a bad rap. She gets all this shit.
And the other one was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I think like the nightmare stuff, I think, yeah, that's cool to have it there, because that's kind of where it would be leading and stuff. And I wonder, like, if Flashpoint, which is apparently happening, I wonder if any of that will change
Ben Affleck's in it
off the back of this Snyder cut. Like, I wonder if they'll go, people kind of liked that and this, and maybe we could work some of that into Flashpoint so that it's not all wasted and the Snyder cut becomes the canon cut. And do you know what I mean? I wonder if that is going to be something that's on their minds. Like, it would be classic DC to let them do the Snyder cut and then go, people kind of liked some of that, so let's try and put it in the Flashpoint really quick and ruin Flashpoint because they're trying to stuff from the Snyder cut into Flashpoint. That'd be so classic DC.
Yeah, it would be. Well, apparently I can't remember her name, but the new head of Warner Brothers has straight up said they're not doing any more with it. However, they've said that the Snyder cut would never happen either. So I feel they're a fickle bunch. But I think what's interesting with that is, if they just went, right, let's do Flashpoint, and then we'll maybe focus on some of the Elseworlds things that we can get doing, because that seems to have worked well. They've got the Batman. That Joker did all right. You can do all these Elseworlds things. Maybe focus on that for a bit, and maybe don't do any DCEU continuity for a bit.
Yeah.
And just see what people like. Go after Flashpoint. Leave it really, really like blank, as what maybe literally just have Ben Affleck's Batman. A bit like what they did with the New 52 post Flashpoint is that you have the Flash and Batman left, but you don't know the ripples of what happened to the world yet until New 52 issue 1, right? That was the first time you knew what happened to the rest of the DC universe. Do that in the world, and then take a step back and go, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah.
Like, what worked when we tried this? What worked when we tried this? What didn't work? Let's put them together. Because to say outright you're just not going to do the Snyder Cut stuff at all is such like, don't get me wrong, I don't think Zack Snyder should write these films anymore. I think he should produce them and be a part of them because he clearly has a vision that I think has worked in some ways. But hire a better writer who knows how to write a plot and get rid of Chris Terrio and put him back in the cave he belongs in.
Yeah.
I don't care what dirt he's got on you, just get rid of him.
Yeah, just get rid of him. And then also do, get some other directors in that maybe are a bit more interesting, or maybe not too visually interesting. Just go like, who can direct a good bloody film?
Yeah. Just get Jon Favreau in.
Yeah, please get Jon Favreau. But just get someone and give them the time to actually and plan it out and learn from your mistakes, because you have one get out of jail free card here, and one group that didn't do well with that was Fox. Fox has been blessed with X-Men have been blessed with 2 get out of jail free cards by accident. They had Days of Future Past, and then every film after that was shite, so they ruined that get out of jail free card. And the second one was being bought. And
DC,
scrap it all,
you ain't
again.
being bought by Disney. Don't they can't.
Warner Brothers.
I'm sure some kind of not quality control, but some kind of agency would step in if you try to buy the other biggest comic book thing, because of market share and all that sort of stuff.
God steps in.
God goes, no way. No way.
But this is it. You have one get out of jail free card with Flashpoint.
Yeah.
Use it bloody wisely and just go. Because, but that's it. I don't know if this naturally segues into the next bit or if you wanted to talk any more about it, because I was going to say this interpretation of characters. I was
literally going to say, do you? I mean, it's the next segment I've got is what I've written is, do you actually like or care about these characters? And kind of my introduction to that is I've got quite a lot of qualms with the way Zack Snyder interprets who these people are. So I'll start off with Batman. Within about 5 minutes of seeing him, he's like Batman's things are, he doesn't give away his identity because he realizes that puts the people he cares about at harm. He doesn't kill people in cold blood generally. And he's a detective genius. His main thing is that he's a detective, his brain. In this film, his identity is given away straight away. To everyone he meets, he's I'm Bruce Wayne. Business cards to everyone in that Icelandic bar. Bruce Wayne, everyone. And then, obviously Batman v Superman, we've all had issues with him just gunning down people for fun. In this, it's not a big deal because they're parademons and they're not humans. And I know certain iterations of Batman do kill people by sort of inadvertently deciding not to save them or whatever, but he very, very rarely kills people in cold blood.
He's rarely got a minigun.
He's rarely got a minigun.
Bullets all over the place.
No minigun wielder.
Yeah.
And kind of the third point of my Zack Snyder's problem with Batman is he's a fucking idiot generally. He's just stupid. He doesn't do any sort of tactical detective stuff.
He doesn't feel like Batman, does he?
No, and I think that's my problem with a lot of these characters, that they don't really feel like real people. Gal Gadot in the Wonder Woman films, I think she's really good, and I think she really embodies Wonder Woman really well. I think in these films she's awful. I think she's really bad. I don't think she is the same character, and that's proven by the first scene where she blows up an entire building and turns to a little girl and says, "This is feminism." And it's that's not what Patty Jenkins wrote. This do you know Patty Jenkins' version of Wonder Woman is really nice.
That's a shite line, a dialogue that it's can I be you when I grow up?
Yeah,
no, because I'm half God. So unless whoever your mum is
your dad Zeus?
My dad.
Is your dad Zeus? Then no.
No, you can't. Yeah. I get the sentiment. I get it. The line is hammy as hell.
Bad, isn't it?
It's so on the nose.
Yeah. It's more
It's that's kind of my problem. All you need is Wonder Woman just helping her up and her looking at her. That is a visual thing where you can see this girl inspired by this icon. And I think that's a great thing to see. Don't put shit hammy lines in.
Yeah.
Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that's I think I try and separate kind of my interpretation of the characters in my head, because I appreciate that Zack Snyder doesn't... you sort of got to take them on his interpretation of the characters rather than what your own kind of personal views on what these characters are, and kind of, I guess, objectively, is it a good film? Even if the characters that you love aren't the characters that you know in a sort of way. And I don't think it is a great film, but I also like it less because I don't think the interpretation of the characters is what they necessarily are in the comics, or in the comics that I like anyway. I think I quite like bits of Man of Steel. I think Superman is getting to a point where he is Superman. I think he's constantly quite dour and quite just depressing, and I kind of get that in Man of Steel because he's kind of new to him and etc. etc. I kind of feel like in this was the film where I think he has become Superman. I think we would see
I agree.
the classic Superman in the next film if that were to happen.
Well, because that's it. Like straight away, as soon as he's kind of got his memories back and stuff, he's like, I've got to go and see why they brought me back.
Yeah,
like I need to go and help. They brought me back to help them. I don't know what's going on, but I got to go and help them. Like, and there's no hesitation. There's no the only umming and ahhing he does is what outfits put on. So like,
and I think my problem with most of DC films is that they don't really feel like they're real people. Like, there's the Avengers Tower scene where they're all trying to pick up Thor's hammer, and they all feel like fully threshed out people who just happen to be superhuman people, and they all feel like they've got separate lives outside of whatever is happening in the film, and they've all got their own stuff going on. Whereas in this, it feels like it's very sort of tunnel vision, like they're all just here. And I can't really.
I feel that kind of comes down to the characters, though, as in like at their core. I think that's the difference between Marvel and DC for me, because like in Marvel there is an awful lot more of people being people, especially when you look at people like Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it's like
true.
A lot of Spider-Man. A lot of Spider-Man's conflict comes from his personal life and his struggle between the two, and I think that's become such a massive thing. Bruce Banner being, in the comics, a human that when gets angry like everyone else becomes a monster. It's a lot about the conflict between your ordinary life as a human and this superpowered being, while DC have always kind of just been about being a superhero.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Nolan's Batman does a really good job of.
I think. Well, no, I would say that like absolutely that is that is absolutely sort of Nolan's vision of that. I would agree, but that is set in a more realistic world, and I think
this is a realistic world made for grown-ups. Don't forget that as well.
Yeah.
It's realistic and made for grown-ups.
Yeah, but it's obviously like more fantastical. I think the way he's built the world isn't perfect, but it's closer to what the comics probably are. I think in terms of, I agree with you that I think this film was the first time he really felt like Superman, and like I wanted to give a shout out to the moment where he does come back in the fight when he joins the fight. Sorry. That's a great sequence for me. Like, I think the first time he sort of like tiptoes behind Steppenwolf and he's like, I'm here now. I like truth. I like justice. Because he says something about truth and justice, which is weird segue line that they wrote in. But in this one, how he's literally just takes the axe and goes, not impressed, blows it away, and then just starts decking him. I thought that was that felt like it came from the comics, and it felt like. And then, like, when he's taught, and like you said, like, when he's like, they brought me back for a reason, need to go, him interacting with Alfred a little bit and showing that he's like.
I wanted more of that in the film, to be honest. More just as little character moments. I think there's a lot of stuff in this film, and not a lot of it is character, just little character moments very well.
I think that's the thing. I want to see more of this world because I like what they've done so far that's worked. I think it's been in these long films that maybe they've not been enough of separately.
Oh, definitely hasn't.
Yeah. And I think, but there's been really standout moments that have built these characters in a big way, where if you use this as a jumping point or Flashpoint as a jumping point and really sort of brought it down to brass tacks, you've had a rocky start, but you could potentially save it because you wouldn't have to redo anything. We know this interpretation of Henry Cavill. We've seen a journey him go on. We can have him be a fully fleshed out Superman, which I feel is an unfair criticism of Man of Steel from a lot of people, where they were like, he is quite dour and things like that in the film.
I think that's the point of the film.
It's an origin story, man.
Absolutely. I'm like he isn't Superman yet.
Yeah,
he isn't. Just him putting on the S doesn't mean he's Superman. That's not what it's about.
But it is in that moment as well, when he does put that suit on, where he does go, okay, I'm going to be the hero. Like, do you know what I mean? I know he's not fully fledged Superman at that point, but it's him taking that first step, because for the rest of the film, he's like, what should I do? Because one dad's telling me that I could lead these people to salvation, and the other one's telling me they'll hate you, they'll kill you, they'll persecute you. Like, and you know what I mean? It's a good
when he puts on the S, he's becoming a hero. But like, as in, when I say he's not become Superman, he's not become the Superman the audience is recognized. While in this film, I agree. I think he finally has. He's sort of like, the problem with Zack Snyder's interpretation of this is he's sort of shoved down our throats. You should love Superman. You should love him. Because when he died, everyone mourned him, which you could call rose-tinted glasses because half the people hated him in the world and half the people really liked him. And maybe in his death, people changed their minds, and that's fair enough. But now that you've gone through that journey and you've been done with it, you've now left with Superman as the world in universe and in real life know him. You've got this hero who wants to do right. He knows who he is. He has his family. He has his place in the world. He kind of knows what he is, or it feels like that anyway. You have a perfect point, and I want to see these continue because I really felt like that was the best interpretation of Superman we got in that little moment. Like for what it was, I thought it was really good, and as well, that shot of when Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent are stood next to each other at the farm, and he's like, "I bought the bank." I think it's quite a funny joke.
I hate that bit.
I think it's a funny.
Do you want me to say why I hate that bit?
Go on.
I hate that bit, right? Because Bruce Wayne, the douchebag Bruce Wayne, is the facade. So there's a bit in like Nolan's Batman where he's in the restaurant and he's got the model swimming in the pool and he's like, "I'm buying the restaurant." And the joke is not that Bruce Wayne's an arsehole, but the joke is that Bruce Wayne's pretending to be an arsehole to all the people around him. I didn't like the fact that it was like Bruce Wayne being a rich kind of show-off wanker to Clark Kent in person when he doesn't like that. That's not really his. I don't think that's who Bruce Wayne is. That's who Bruce Wayne pretends to be to the outside.
I don't think I saw it as showing off.
Maybe just buy the house from the bank. Just buy the house from the bank.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
He's an idiot. That's my point. He's an idiot. He's just
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I interpreted that slightly differently, but when I saw them on screen together, when I saw Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill stood next to each other, I went, I believe that is Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne.
I'll put it on mute.
What?
I'll put it on mute and then watch it back, and maybe I'll.
Yeah. No, but I looked at them and I was like, this feels like the version I've read in comics. Like it feels like you have Henry Cavill as Clark Kent and you have Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne. I felt it, and I could almost see how next films could have them bounce off each other as best friends who also disagree with certain life decisions like they do in the comics. Like I want to see more of. I agree with you that I don't think he's got the best interpretation out of these characters. I think Aquaman. I think Gal Gadot. A lot of work's been done with Patty Jenkins as well that makes her very good and very likable and things like that. And I think he's done quite a lot of good with her. But I like the characters we've got for the most part. I don't want to see a whole new set of people that I have to be reintroduced to. Like, just carry on with these characters. Like, you've done the legwork has been hard and it's been turbulent, and it's not been great. But you've done the work.
Yeah, I was going to say actually,
at least relish it a little bit. I
was going to say the one that I would miss probably the most is actually Henry Cavill, and I think he is the fully fleshed out character, and that's the one because he's had a standalone film.
Yeah,
that's the reason. That's the reason why I like him as much as I did.
Jeez.
Has he?
Yeah, Pitbull, for Christ's sake. Pitbull's in it. He's a shark. No, I don't know.
But I think the fact he had that film before it kicked off means that I'm invested in his character, and everyone else, like the Flash.
Imagine that.
I don't
Imagine
really
that.
Care. I know we've talked about this like a million times, but it's like make us care about them before you put them in some sort of world-ending peril, and then maybe there's some more stakes.
I can't see anyone else off the. I mean, it's always hard to say that though when there's another casting probably around the corner, but I look at Henry Cavill and I go, yeah, he's Superman.
I think it's a massive shame.
Superman.
It's a massive shame he's not been. Yeah. He's not had sort of the writing that he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not. It's no way his fault. It's real shame.
I think
the same with Ben Affleck actually, to be honest, because I think Batman v Superman did a really good job of setting him up.
I think all of them are really well cast. I mean, Ezra Miller, you could argue, maybe, but like when they cast Jason Momoa as well, and I was like, yeah, I'm up for it. Like,
yeah.
I think the problem is this comes before we really know who we don't really know who those we know who the actors are, and we can say that's a good match. But kind of until this film really gets going, we don't really know who those iterations of these characters are until the film's too far underway for my liking. I think
that is fair. I think like taking everything we've seen on screen. Sorry, I know you want to get to a point, Matt. I'll just quickly, but like everything we've seen on screen, I would like to see more of these. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
because I feel like we've seen enough to know them.
I think that's kind of like just a similar point that like I don't dislike any of them. I'm not like there going, oh my god, I really wish like they'd recast Jason Momoa or really wish they'd recast this person. But at the same time, if they did, I wouldn't be that broken up about it. I think that's where I stand on it. It's like I think they're all good enough to be these characters and to go forward with it. But at the same time, if they recast them, or say if one of them died in a film, I'm not having an Iron Man moment when Iron Man died in Endgame. Do you know what I mean? I'm not having that. I'm not having that moment with any of these. But I feel like I could if they did more with them. Is kind of my kind of feelings on them, which is kind of sad because it's kind of a little bit on the fence and a little bit indifferent. And I usually like to have a bit more of a interesting opinion on something than that. But that's kind of where I am with it.
I'm the same because Batman's like my favorite comic book character. Like I've got like a half a shelf of Batman comics there, and like he's my favorite comic book. He's the character I've read the most in comics out of any other single character, and it just doesn't quite land with me for some reason. And like I said, I really like Ben Affleck. I just don't think he's particularly had the justice. Has anyone got anything else particularly they want to bring up? Because I think we've been going for 2 hours and we've pretty much covered everything that's on my running order.
I'm going to quickly go over my notes real quick just for a moment, but I think pretty much everything.
Yeah, everything's.
I'll just bring up. There was a hint of the someone called Ryan Choi, who's taken over Star Labs, who's the Atom, which is obviously another little set which Matt hate, but yeah, I would like. To be honest, I would quite like the Snyderverse to be restored in some sense. So because I really like the aesthetic of the Nightmare thing. I kind of want to see the Nightmare film.
We didn't actually talk about that too much, but I want to really briefly say that I liked the way it looked. I would love to see a film of that group of people going around the world.
Well, that
looks like a really interesting group of people.
This film should have ended with the nightmare sequence being the reality, and then the first half of the next film is them in the nightmare sequence trying to get things back to normal.
Absolutely, and then maybe even through flashback we could see all the things that happened in between.
Yeah, do like a time jump. Yeah.
But fucking hell, everyone loves the dialogue between Batman and Joker. And it's fucking trash.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it?
Like, right. I've stopped looking at it as part of the film. I look at it as a proof of concept. It's like, here's Zack Snyder going, this is the film and this is the themes I would tackle with these two characters. Yeah, but I'm going to say it in expositional dialogue that is really on the nose. You know? It
feels like a scene written by someone at like film school.
It feels like a fan film. That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
It's what it feels like. I think I say the sentiment's there. Cool. I think the sentiment's there, and it'd be cool. Like, I can see how Batman and Joker would get to that point in a post-apocalyptic world where they needed each other to try and undo everything. And obviously, Joker would hate that the world's like this for his reasons, and they'd have two very opposite reasons about why they wanted the world back to normal. But you know, they would kind of like them being on the same side to get back to that. I don't have a problem with, but the dialogue was just really bad.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, doesn't Joker's the one who kills Lois in Injustice, right? In Injustice Universe, and that's what sends Superman bad. So that's kind of what's implied has happened here, I suppose.
Like Superman's killed, you mean?
That Joker's killed Lois, and that's what.
I didn't interpret it that way. I thought
that's what happened in Injustice.
It does, but I saw it as I kind of took what we saw in the Cyborg vision when he touches the mother boxes, and I assumed that the skeleton that Superman was holding was Lois Lane, so that I wonder if maybe Darkseid had tricked him, because there's that sort of glazed look he has, because that is what the anti-life equation does. It sort of takes over people's minds. I wondered if that was the direction they were going in. I think it was the direction they were going in. I interpreted it as maybe Darkseid.
Okay, yeah.
Was the one that did it. Because, you're right. In Justice, it's Joker, but I interpreted it probably not as that.
We'll never know.
Joker sort of...
We'll never know.
There is also a joke about Joker wanking Batman off, so that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that pissed me off so much. Like, but that pissed me off. And then, like, I mean, the line, "Don't send a boy wonder to do a man's job." I don't know if that's in the actual comic, Death of the Family, I don't know. That great line. But say it once.
I was gonna say, I quite
said
liked
it loads. You said stuff about Robin loads, and you kept coming back and forth. Also,
I killed Robin, by the way.
Yeah. Did you know?
I'm surprised he didn't just pull out a bloody crowbar and was just like, look what I got here.
His arse.
Yeah.
Or just find I keep these birds on me just to kill them in front of you all the time. But like
symbolism.
But there's the bit where he just says like, "I promised Harley Quinn I would kill you, and I will fucking kill you." Just the line, like, and I will fucking kill you, just felt so lame.
Yeah.
It felt like
I'm gonna say an F word because I'm cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. It was like Batman is scary and intimidating, and he doesn't need to say any specific things to make it more so.
Yeah.
He's Batman. Like, it's like, I don't like he's Batman excuse in a lot of concepts, but in this, 100%, please don't make him say stuff like that.
Yeah.
It sounds fucking lame as fuck.
You can kind of tell it's shot in Zack Snyder's back garden. That bit.
Absolutely. Well, and they weren't even on set together. Like, obviously, Batman and Joker weren't together at all. Like, Jared Leto and Ben Affleck were never on set at the same time. On set in his garden.
Yeah, in Zack Snyder's garden.
In his garden.
I think that's everything, then, right? I think that's everything.
It's probably everything.
I think so. Go feel probably most positive on it, but yeah,
I don't think anyone's surprised.
Yeah. But I'm quite glad you don't think it's a vision of genius.
No, and I'm really annoyed at everyone who's like, "Oh, it's
mad,
the best. It's the fucking best thing I've ever seen." It's like, oh, it's not.
The thing is that I expected that from whatever film this was. The Snyder fanboys were gonna say that. The weird thing that I find is like a lot of critics have also said this is like Telegraph gave it 5 stars, Guardian gave it 4 stars. I'm like, these are like snobby film critics.
Actual
like,
film critics.
I think maybe they did it deliberately. Maybe they always were going to do this thing. Like, well, we're not 100% sure Zack Snyder's thing is going to work. So if we release a really shit version and then make him do his good version, maybe it'll trick people into thinking it's better. So they'll give it really high
I think
reviews
that's honestly what's happened to me since I watched this review this morning, where someone showed me how bad the original was. I'm like, oh, actually, because I was really negative on my review and our other podcast over the weekend. I was really down on it. I'm kind of more positive on it now, having thought about it a bit more.
The Justice League.
Yeah, I think like it's kind of like me for when like Rise of Skywalker came out, and I was just like, I don't care. And that's kind of the sad thing, is that I just don't really care that much anymore. But I think that's probably it really for me. That's it for me. Bye. I'm out. That would have been a good place to stop stream, wouldn't it? But yeah. I guess we'll end it there then. Thank you everyone for joining us, either in the chat or in the future on wherever you get your podcasts. We have a Discord channel. If anyone wants to follow us on Discord, get in touch with anything that we said, anything you disagree with, anything you agree with. If you want to leave us a review on iTunes, that'd be very nice. We'll read them out on the show. Like I said, we do this podcast kind of weekly, and then we also do kind of a bigger get-together with us three and Sam usually, where we kind of tackle topics in kind of a more in-depth way, and usually a lot more long-winded. Maybe we should do a DC. We haven't done DCEU, have we? Maybe we should now. We should do a little retrospective DCEU one.
Yeah.
I would actually quite like to do that, actually, in retrospect, and do the original Justice League. And I would actually quite like to watch the Justice League again and do
I would
podcast.
Actually. I'd be interested to. For science sake, I'd watch it again.
Science. That might be fun to do. We'll be back at some point with some stream. Matt, you're streaming tomorrow night?
No, I'm not going to stream tomorrow now because I've got things I need to sort before I go to London and stuff. But we're back Friday. We're all back Friday.
I might stream tomorrow then.
Well, you stream tomorrow then, yeah. You stream.
I might do then, because this is my stream slot, so I might stream tomorrow night. Guff, you're streaming imminently. Any minute now.
I've just gone live.
Oh, you've just gone live.
Oh, he wants the raid, doesn't he? He wants the raid.
We'll do a raid.
We'll do a raid.
If you want a raid, you can do. You don't have to. You don't have to raid.
We'll do the raid. We'll do the raid.
I was going to start the raid and I realised.
So if you like spooky shit.
Have you put your warnings on?
It's not saying you're live. You sure you're live?
I have done. So I will say, I'm gonna say it in me just chatting bit at the start, but yeah. Wait, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
You are
breaking up a little bit, so I think your internet's not enjoying.
It's because the OBS is now panicking and shit its keks. But Yeah, I'm gonna say a trigger warning because there is some like graphic stuff in there. But I'll talk about it on the just chatting. But like, yeah, I'm not going straight into the game, so it's not like you're immediately going to be faced with something that is uncomfortable. So unless you're made uncomfortable by my face. So yeah,
like the troll we had in the chat earlier.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't like that, did he? He didn't like how shiny it was.
No, he's long gone. He didn't like the fact that we were not saying hello to him as well, so he's gone. Probably
Snyder fan. Are we ready to raid?
No.
Shall we just sit in silence until we raid?
It's not coming up with it. It's saying, what's the command you put in chat? /raid.
/raid. / And just the username.
No, it's I thought it was exclamation mark raid, wasn't it?
No, it's /raid. Do you need to put a space?
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Goofball. Hey, it's working. It's working.
I'll see you over there.
Look,
we're going. We'll see everyone there.
We'll see.
Thanks for listening.
Hey, I'll go raid my own channel.
Thanks, guys.
Bye everyone.
Bye.